All right, and we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. We are going to be playing tonight through Ultan's Door. We're going to be playing it in Old School Essentials, which is a retro clone that I have absolutely fallen in love with and that I have been dying to play for a while. This is my first chance to get to play it, but it's a pretty faithful representation of a lot of the BX, the basic expert rules, with none of the things that made BX not enjoyable to play too. So if you're familiar with classic old Dungeons and Dragons rules, this is going to feel right at home. And if you are not, there's still going to be a lot of familiar things, but we're not focused on the system as much tonight on our stream. We're focused on the setting that we're playing at. Through Ultan's Door is the first time I came across it was not the actual door itself. That'll be exciting when it eventually happens in my life, but the game itself was actually through a lot of different zine design conversations. Through Ultan's Doors, physical zines are absolutely beautiful books that Ben puts together, who's going to be running us through it tonight. Through Ultan's Door 3 is the third installation in it. I'm going to let him talk more about that in a little bit, but if you've never been on one of our streams before, at Plus One EXP is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. We do actual plays, reviews, previews, and other information about indie RPGs over on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/plus1exp. You can also find us at plus1exp.com. Anything you buy on that site goes to help support independent tabletop creators. Oh, look at there. So Diogo's cheating already. And so he's got all the source material. He knows what's coming. He's looked at all the dungeons. No, this is all new stuff. I'm going to guess, based on the fact that Ben said he's never done a live stream before, this is probably the first public like stream play test of this material for through Ultan's Door 3. But we're going to go around and introduce everybody, and then I'm going to kick it over to Ben and let him introduce the game. Just for a couple of safety things, we do use lines and veils and the X card on stream. As I'm having people introduce themselves, if you have a line or a veil that you want to throw up, please do. Lines are things that happen in the game, but aren't necessarily things that they happen in the game world, but not things that happen in our game. Veils are things that may happen in our game, but we don't dwell on them when they come up. The X card is the opportunity for any player to just say or type in the chat X, at which point we'll stop, back up, clarify whatever the issue was, and move forward in a different direction to avoid that. It's not a player guard and a character guard. It's a player guard. So it's about things that might make us uncomfortable or distract us. But if you are watching live on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, we would love to have you let us know where you're watching from, if you've heard of Ultan's Door before, and then also if you're an OSE fan or not. So with that said, I'm just going to go across the top. Campbell, it's your first time on stream. Tell people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you at.
Hi, my name is Campbell, and you can find me on YouTube. My YouTube channel is SJ Thunder Warrior. I've been gaming, since I was 7 in one capacity or another. Done a lot of Warhammer 40,000, a lot of Mage the Ascension. Those are my babies. And so this is really my first time dipping my toes into OSE, and I'm really excited about seeing how this goes. Hopefully I will die wonderfully.
That's always the thing to look forward to. Awesome. Thanks, Campbell. Thanks for being on also, too. Kelsey, who is coming back for, I think, your second stream, or is this your third one?
This is the second one.
Second one. All right. Yep. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Also, if you have any lines or veils. Campbell, did you have any lines or veils that you wanted to throw up?
No, the stuff that we talked a little bit before we started rolling, and I'm totally down with the things that have already been discussed. So, and also currently in the Bronx.
There you go.
Gotta throw that
out. So on channel, we have a strong line against sexual violence, but we kind of define everything else as we go along. So sorry, Kelsey, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Kelsey. I am a writer. I'm currently living in Western New York. I also DM for a D&D 5e podcast called An Infinity of Wishes, and you can find that pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts or on social media under that same name. And yeah, I'm also good with all the established lines and veils. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Dropping down below Kelsey, we have Diogo Nogueira. Diogo, tell people who you are, where you're from, if you have any lines or veils, and then where they can find you on the internet.
Okay, my name is Diogo Nogueira. I'm from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. I am a game designer, artist, and graphic designer too. I mainly publish my stuff through Old School Publishing, which is partnered with Gallant Knight Games. I'm an author of Sharp Sword and Sinister Spells, Summer Blade and Cosmic Spells, other games, and I recently released 3 really room slide games focused on horror and survival, called Screams Amongst the Stars, The Dead Are Coming, and Running Out of Time. And you can find me at Twitter at Diogo underline Old Skull, like the bones, like the skull inside of your head, like old. And I have Old Skull slash publishing.com, which is my I just recently did a website, was my New Year's resolution. I bought like a small course online and then I made my website. So I have a website now. And I'm good with the lines and veils that are established here. And
Awesome. Sweet.
that's it.
We're gonna skip Ben and come back to him in just 1 second and go over to Charmaine. Charmaine, how's it going? Tell people who you are, where they can find you online, if you have any lines or veils, and just kind of what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Charmaine. I'm currently based in Australia. I'm part of a podcast called the Hobbled Goblin Podcast. It's an actual play of the Savage Tide Adventure Path, rewritten for Pathfinder 1st edition and set in the world of Galarian. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram. I really like dice and beer. So if you go on my Instagram, it's at Charzy, and I have a whole advent calendar from last month. With the lines and veils, I guess I would add like no explicit child abuse would be another thing to toss in. But yeah.
Very fair.
All right. And then the creator and designer himself, we've got Ben Laurence with us. Ben, tell people who you are. Tell us a little bit also about Through Ultan's Door.
Sure. I'm Ben Laurence, an academic. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for a long time, among other things. I'm the author of a blog, Miserian's Garden, and also the creator of Through Ultan's Door, which is a zine that is kind of rooted in the campaign that I've been running for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's a kind of setting that takes you beyond the Veil of Sleep into my version of the Dreamlands, which is there's a door that has opened under the stairs of a printmaker's shop, and it leads to the undercity and sewers of this flying city of the Dreamlands, Zion. And so the zine is kind of creeping through that setting, and issue 3, which we're going to be playtesting here, or streaming here, is one that opens things up, because the first 2 issues explore 2 different locations that were both on this sewer river, and this is a point crawl that introduces a kind of, sort of giant dynamic environment of that whole space, along with rules for traversing it and uncovering secrets and all the ne'er-do-wells and strange beings who circulate in this area. So anyway, yeah, right now I'm in Chicago, which is where I live. As for lines and veils, I would add that I would have a veil for torture, and I would also have a veil for any sexual activity, I think. So yeah.
Cool. And you gave us a couple kind of like warnings beforehand, which I think would be good just to bring up for everybody.
Sure.
So there may be some themes of mild horror, character death is a possibility, and those are the 2 kind of main ones. Is there anything else we should caution our audience about?
There are other possibilities. There is gore is a possibility, a certain amount of gore and related kind of body horror that goes along with that kind of gory vibe. And another thing that could come up is disease. And at the present time, I know that could be a trigger for some folks.
There's not a pandemic in the sewers. We're gonna put a line on,
There's
on a
not-
pandemic, but
Not
there
a
is-
pandemic.
there
There's
may
not a
be disease.
pandemic.
So-
Yes.
Awesome. Well, with that said, I'm going to hand things over to you to let us know how you want us to do character introduction. I know we talked about it some in our chat thread, kind of how you're going to queue up the adventure. But go ahead and take us up to Ultan's door, however you want to.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So, this is how we begin. There are we pick up with 4 out of 5 of our characters. Campbell's character is not yet on the scene, but everyone else is part of a party. And why don't the 4 of you actually introduce your characters now? Tell us sort of maybe what your name is, if you want to describe yourself, and tell us what class you are. Tony, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Let me pull up my character sheet real quick for that, because I put it on my iPad and then that just went to sleep. My name is Vicar Sleen Rester. I am a fairly well-built but not overly large individual with dark hair and gleaming green eyes. He's wearing some chainmail. He probably seems most at home as we kind of first originally see our party, because I believe he is the only one who has actually been in the location we are at before. He is wearing an odd holy symbol around his neck that seems to almost change and shift what it specifically is as the light catches it, because that also matches the motif, but also because I didn't define what it was in advance. And also on his belt, you can see that he has 4 vials that are filled with different substances on one side and 4 empty vials on another. Ben, I don't know that it particularly matters, but I wrote down some weird things that I put in vials and brought with me, because that's the kind of thing I like to do with my character.
Gorgeous.
So,
I love it. I love it.
None of them are of sort of any sort of material worth. But they are all different kind of elements and other things that I thought would just be fun to have in my pockets. He has a large warhammer and a shield also too. He's a cleric of the god, and if I mispronounce this, you can tell me, Ben. Manayun Sushai.
Yeah, Manayud Sushai. Yeah,
Manayud Sushai, who is the god of dreams.
Indeed. Okay, Charmaine, who are you going to be playing?
All right, I'm playing Amia Bulor. She's just a human. She is decked out in like full plate armor and very generic sword and shield that she carries around with her. She does have 2 hand axes for if things get a bit further away. She does carry around like a lantern and a lot of oil flasks, because if they're going out at night, then with her big brain, she believes she has to bring a lot of light with her in the form of a lantern.
Charmaine, can you tell me your character's name one more time so I can write it down?
Mia.
Okay, Kelsey, how about you?
I've got Ellie Mist, a thief with a penchant for stealing rare books. She is wearing nice but sort of nondescript clothes with lots of pockets, naturally. Always has a dagger, and for this particular excursion, she has a short bow.
And Diogo, who are you going to be playing?
I am Stoneheart, which is he's a dwarf, and he wears like a plate mail from the Stoneheart clan, which like the magic item you said we could begin with. So I thought it could be like a family heirloom. So it's like pretty beaten up, but it's magical, and he's really proud of his heritage and seeks the word out from the lost relics of his people, and the legendary Stoneheart, which is like a ruby the size of a heart.
Ooh.
He carries like a sack of grease, because he has been in some tight situations that grease help smooth things out. So he has A sack of grease.
Very good. Okay, perfect. No, don't leave home without it. Right. So, okay. So here's how we begin. Vicar Slane, that's the name of your character, Tony. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Vicar is a title. Sleen is his first name. Yeah.
Got it. Oh, he's a vicar. He's literally a vicar. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
Slane.
trying to remember what level 3, because actually there are enough level titles for levels, and I couldn't find the book, so I just picked Vicar because it's like a step down from actual priest.
No, I love it. Okay, so Slane, right? Good. Okay, so Slane's godmother was named Elspeth, and the way Slane got into this whole adventuring racket was because of his godmother. His godmother was a renowned figure, a kind of duelist, a little bit of a ne'er-do-well, and she, when she visited him and his family as a child, she always brought the strangest presents for him. There were, dolls that moved, these beautiful masks that were frightening and elegant, just the strangest things. So once a set of paints of like remarkable hues and all this sort of thing. And she always told him stories that about where she had gotten these things. She told him many stories about this place, which she called Zion, in this other world that she said was beyond the veil of sleep, Wishery. And Slane's parents always told him that this was these were fairy tales, and never to believe what she said, and so on. But this made an impression on him, and I gather it's from her that he picked up this faith initially. And sadly, as we begin, Slane has learned that Elspeth has died. He hasn't seen her for a while because the family had a disagreement, and so she hasn't been on speaking terms with his family. But when she died, he received a letter. Strangely, there was no funeral held, but this letter asked him to hastily assemble a party of his companions and to come quickly to her house, which is in the countryside, and it's where we begin at the door to her house. They're kind of rolling green hills. It's kind of nestled in a little valley. As you walked up, you walked through some gardens. There seemed like flowers that you didn't recognize, of such vivid colors and so strange looking, and and so on. But you've walked up to the porch. It's like it's kind of big. It's too big to be a farmhouse, but it's a bit rustic. It's got 2 floors and what looks like a big old attic, like maybe a 3rd floor. Attic floor up there. Yeah, and you haven't been here in a long time, Slane, and I guess nobody knows quite what to expect, but you're coming up to the door. Yeah. What do you do?
I think at the way in, as he passes these flowers, he probably like brushes one and then like puts his hand underneath it, and if it's a delicate flower, he would probably pull on it hard enough that the blossom would kind of depart from the root. If it's not, it may not. But if it's fairly delicate, it would probably come up. And if it did, he would just kind of adorn that on the edge of his lapel, and then go up and kind of sheepishly look at his friends before knocking on the door and just seeing if anybody answers.
Yeah, so you've got the flower in your lapel. You knock on the door, and quickly, or pretty quickly, it opens. You're greeted by a man. He's in his middle years, maybe a little bit younger than Elspeth would have been. He's handsome, dark skin, close cropped hair, peppered with silver. And he he takes one look at you and he says, "Are you Elspeth's godson?"
I am, and these are my friends. I received a letter that she'd passed and came to pay our respects and find out what was happening.
He says, come inside, come inside. I've been expecting you. You can see it looks like he has like it looks like he's maybe been crying. He's got red in his eyes a little bit. But he asks you all to come in. He introduces himself to you and learns all of your names, shakes your hand. His name is, he introduces himself just as Nick. He says he was Elspeth's partner. And he after offering you some tea.
Is there anyone else there or just us?
No one else. So, and in the room you see, I mean, when he invites you in and brings you to sit, you see, although it's got a rustic exterior, this place is outfitted. It's really beautiful in here. There is this elegant furniture. It looks like kind of Art Nouveau, like kind of Art Nouveau masterpieces, things you've never seen. You've never seen woodworking like this, and there are curios sort of all over the place, like a bottle with what looks like a ship in a bottle, but it looks like a flying ship with a little diorama of clouds and floating around. And there's like all manner of kind of curios and wonders. And so yeah, but no, it's just him, and he disappears quickly and then comes back with some refreshments for you. And he says, Elspeth always, she says, she was proud of you. She talked about you. She says a lot. It wasn't right with her that she wished she had stayed in touch, he said.
Well, I mean, I understand that she was always busy, but I also know that my parents didn't make it any easier. So I'm sad that I took too long to reach out myself. I haven't been a child for a long time now and could easily have made the effort on my own.
Yeah. Right. He laughs and he says, yeah, I guess they didn't make it too easy. And he says, all right, there's maybe, he seems to want to hasten past things because it seems like a painful subject for him, honestly. And he says, he says, I don't want to keep you waiting because he says time is of the essence here. And there's something I have to show you. He says, follow me. And he starts to walk up the stairs. You guys want to come along?
I'll follow him.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're here for.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Kelsey, you probably do pass when you're coming up on the second floor, a room that you see with some books in it. I would imagine. But Nick is kind of focused. There's like one of the trapdoor stairs in the ceiling that he pulls down on the second floor, and it comes down. And there are these steps that seem to go up into this dark attic. And he starts to just walk up there, into the darkness. And he's like, come on this way.
I mean, that's plenty of time while you're waiting on people to go up to sneak in and get a book.
I know, but the house is weird. I don't know if I want to touch it. I think she would just think to herself, like, I'm gonna come back for you on the way back.
Perfect.
So all depends on what's upstairs.
Yeah. So, okay. So you all file up there, and by the time you're getting up there, he's throwing open the shutters on the windows, and light is streaming in. So they're pretty big windows, and it's what you see is kind of crazy because there is the whole space of the attic it's a long attic, is taken up with a boat. It's a like a long ship, like a huge, big canoe that has oars, off the side they're stowed right now. But it's this big, beautiful ship of this kind of gleaming wood, and in places it's kind of there are floral designs in gold leaf on it. It's pretty remarkable looking, and it's on like a cradle in there. So it's standing up. There's no way it could have been carried in here. Either it was built in here, or the house was built around it, or you don't know what's going on. There's some other things in the room, but before I mention that, let me just say the most striking thing about the boat is that there is like a bier on it, like a kind of altar in the middle that would take up where the seats normally would be, and there is someone laid upon it, and you recognize, although you can't see her face, Elspeth's body, you think, is lying on the top of this thing, and she is dressed in, there's like a some kind of beautiful light robe over something like leather on her, over her leather armor. You can see her gray hair has been all combed out, and she is wearing a mask, and the mask is like this silver mask. It looks like of a woman's face, and there's in the hair there are all these like birds nestling of this mask that she's wearing, and you can see that in her hand she's holding on her chest a sword which you recognize right away. It's her famous it's a famous sword. It's a rapier called Thorn's Prick. It's a powerful magical sword that she had, and she's holding it on her chest. There are other things in the room. There's one wall that has all these shelves, and there are all these crazy masks on it. So many, dozens and dozens, all different kinds. They look like carnival masks, sort of. Of beasts, of spirits, of abstract forms. I mean, it just looks really wild. And there's also like a side table that has a casket on it, little like chest, I mean. And Nick tells you, like when you've taken it in for a moment, he says that she wanted you to have this casket. She says, go ahead, he says, go ahead, take a look.
I'll kind of come over and look at him in the eye, and then look down at it and open it up.
Yeah. Okay, in the casket, you see there are 3 small glass containers. They each have an animal head stopper. There's one with the head of a beaked crane that has a transparent liquid. There are colors flickering on it. There's one with the head of a catfish with a dark, like viscous looking liquid inside. And then there's one with the head of a toad. The stopper is a toad, and the liquid within that one is gray. And there's also a little rolled piece of paper tied with a ribbon. And when you unroll the paper, you can see that it's a letter in Elspeth's hand, and here's what it says. You can kind of hear her voice in this. She says, it's been too long since I've seen you. I've heard what you've made of yourself, and I'm proud of you. Do you remember how I used to tell you stories when you were a child about the flying city of Zion and Wishery? Well, I wish to return there one final time, and I want you to go with me. In days of yore, the Zionese sent their dead in funeral barges down the Sewer River that winds through the undercity of Zion. The river ends in great falls that spill into the heavens below. I wish to receive a proper Zionese funeral and take the plunge. She says, you may wonder how you are to get there. If you find a door, that's best, but the only door I knew closed long ago. Instead, you'll have to travel by means of penumbral transmigration. The potion with the crane stopper will induce a magical slumber in you. If you concentrate on a memory of Wishery as you fall asleep, the potion will transport you there. So I've put a memory of mine in the bottle with the catfish stopper. drink that one first. Lie down in the boat before you consume these potions. They will transport you and the vessel to Zion. Your companions should stand back. They may follow after through the preoduct it creates. The memory will take you to a point as far down the sewer river as I ever managed to get, at a place where you may set the boat into water. On the map I gave you, it's on the edge of the area labeled Sanitarium of the Benefactors. I'll screen share that map when we get started here. Between the tunnels that will take you either to the Churning Gate or down the sewer river towards the ruins of the Inquisitor's Theater. I do not know what any of these locations signify. I wish you to see my boat to the Great Falls if you can, but more than that, I want you to taste and experience the thrill of adventure in Zion. Do not hold back from exploring what catches your fancy. Their decadent civilization far exceeds any in the waking world in its splendors and terrors, and rich treasures and precious experiences are to be had for the bold of spirit. Know also that the sewer river is full of secrets and forgotten byways that lie between the points on the map. I've also included a third potion. The one with a frog stopper will bring you back, dwell on a memory of a place in the waking world as you fall asleep, and it will take you there. Before you go, you should each choose a mask from my collection as a disguise, for it's the custom in Zion to hide your face behind a mask, and it's considered a mark of shame or arrogance to go barefaced. Love, Elspeth. So, there you have it.
I
Nick?
walk up to Flame.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I put my hand on his shoulder and go, "Don't worry, we'll be with you the whole way."
Thank you. So I mean, I guess everybody pick a mask.
Yeah, and just tell me what your mask looks like.
Ooh.
So,
So many options.
yeah, anything you want. How about Diogo? What does your mask look like?
My mask is a three-eyed elephant.
I love it. Kelsey, how about you? What's your mask look like?
My first instinct was badger. Don't know why, but I'm gonna go with it.
I love it. Charmaine.
Mia will have a lion mask of like a massive glowing mane.
Beautiful. Tony?
I think Sling kind of looks around for a little while and doesn't see anything that immediately jumps out at him until he finds kind of a simple green scaled domino style mask.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So with those masks on, Nick is leaving. He says, "I'm going to leave you to it," and he steps down the stairs.
I'll make my way over to the boat, and I think I'll pause for a second, and in the hand that isn't holding the sword, or if they're both up within one of the hands, I'll take the flower that I had stuck in my lapel earlier and stick it under her other hand, and then drink the
memory first.
The memory first.
The
The catfish one.
The catfish one. That's
Don't
what I
pick
thought.
the wrong one.
Right. That's why, like, you guys prompt me as I look kind of back and forth. But
what do we do? Do we stand in the boat and the boat?
So they
take
told
us?
the letter said to stand back.
Stand back.
And so you know, I
What
will
does
say the
that
boat
mean?
the boat has two rows of seats in the front, in the bow, and in the stern there are also 2 rows of seats. Each can comfortably sit 2 there, and then the middle of the boat is all taken up by this, you know, raised kind of beer that she's lying on.
I guess
but
we
yeah.
stand in the stern then. I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
huddle in the back.
I'm gonna drink one potion, and then I'm gonna drink the other potion in the
Yes.
proper order.
So-
When
Yes.
when I drink the memory potion, does anything happen? Do I
Yeah,
recall what the
for
memory
sure.
is?
It as you drink it, a recollection takes shape, which is, you know, you remember as though you were there, and it's incredibly vivid. It's in front of your mind. I mean, you're on a kind of rocky sort of rocky outcropping in some big subterranean space. There's a boat that is kind of pulled up on the rocks nearby there. There's a kind of roar, a smell that's not so great, the light of a lantern. That's the memory. Actually, it's probably this boat.
Okay. So
I think. Yeah.
I get a sense that it's this boat. And then when that's happening, I'll drink the other, I'll focus on it and drink the other potion.
Okay. You get very sleepy, and soon you see Slane's eyes close and sleep overtakes him. And there is sort of rapidly from the sort of back of his head, you see this something begin to grow. It almost looks organic. It's kind of vermilion with, kind of sort of crimson lines running through it. And it's almost like a kind of pod that's engulfing the ship. And as it gets to you guys, it's pushing you back off the ship. So it knocks you back off the ship, and and now the ship is encased in like some giant organic looking pod. I'll come back to you three in a second. Okay. Let's turn now to Zion. So beyond the veil of sleep, Campbell, why don't you introduce your character to us, who is on a certain rocky outcropping island in a dark cyclopean space. Go ahead. Why don't you tell us who you're playing?
My character is in the, I guess you could say, the more mundane world. His name is Saul Vinter, and he's all but doctorate from out of Berkeley by way of Brixton, and he's looks very much like something straight out of Quadrophenia. Tall black man, dark skin, black suit, black jacket, black jeans. But hold on, sorry, which plane am I in right now?
Yeah, good. But now tell us about your dream self, your dream self. Yeah, because that's who would be relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. Should I roll on the table now?
Yeah. Why don't you roll on the table?
Because that'll probably affect.
Yeah. Let me explain for our watchers that Campbell is playing a class of character called the Opium Dreamer, which appears in Through Ultan's Door 3. And this is someone who travels to the Dreamlands not through a doorway, but they come from our Earth at some period, and they travel through drug-induced reveries. And so it's a kind of custom class that you can build with your own table of drugs and effects. Mm-hmm. And every time you appear as your dream self, for every session, you roll on this table to see what substance brought you, and it can have different effects on your character. So yes.
Yeah. Well, this time I did a test roll, and then I did the actual roll just now. I got 5, so it's a peyote that brought me here. So I'm a little spaced out. I was probably on a rocky outcropping somewhere in the California desert, and then when I transitioned, when my conscious shifted over, my dour black suit became this kind of like overly psychedelic paisley color, like this vibrant blues and turquoise, and my pork pie hat took the same coloring as well. And I am able to take off my sunglasses, and my eyes itself are just like kind of just glowing a little bit, and then it's fading as I look around and just remember why I'm here.
Yeah. I'm okay, and boom, all of a sudden, as you're not surprised at all to see this kind of massive pod, this cyst, this green cyst suddenly appear. And Tony Slane is waking from his slumber, and you find yourself in this strange pod in the ship. and looking as you turn your head to look. Well, it's probably dark, actually. Everything's probably dark. I assume that you have a light on outside.
Yeah, I have a lantern.
And there's probably some illumination coming in through the exterior. So it's probably dim in there, but you can kind of see as when you turn your head around, you're in the boat, but from the far end of the pod, there's some weird kind of like tube or doorway, or you're not sure what the heck that is back there. But yeah, you find yourself waking up in this thing. What do you do?
I'm still in the ship. I check to see if
you're on the ship.
Elspeth's body is still secure and safe.
She's still secure. It kept the ship and expelled the other.
Do I feel any sense of movement?
No.
Okay. I will. And you said I feel like it seems like there's like a tube over me, like there's some sort of like pod or.
No, yeah. There's like the back of the cyst, like where the stern of the ship is.
Yeah.
There is, you can see some weird looking hole, like a tube, like a tunnel, and it's like kind of pinkish. There's maybe some colors like cascading on it. It looks super weird back there. Actually, there's probably like some glow coming from there too, kind of phantasmagorical glow.
I'll kind of make my way towards it.
Yeah.
And is it in the boat?
So it's not. It's like the cyst surrounds the boat, and it's from the back of that going up. Now, Campbell, what's your character's name? Say again. Remind me.
In
the Dreamlands.
In the Dreamland, he's Soul Soma.
Great, love it. Okay, so Soul, you think that the godson of Elspeth is in this thing, and you expect that he has no idea what's going on. Now from experience that you can just pull open the front. You can just peel it like it's a fruit. And you know that at the back, there is something that Elspeth always called a preaduct, which somehow was like connected the worlds. But yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna go over like to it and just think, man, Elspeth had such style, and just peel back the front and like just say, what's the godson's name? Tony, what's your character's name?
It's Sleen.
Say, Sleen, you in there?
Yes.
Good.
Who are you?
I'm Soul. I'm a friend of Elspeth's. Looks like we got a job to do.
Okay. Where
sorry,
are you?
I'm talking into a this huge plant-like thing.
Yeah, exactly. So he's peeled the plant like kind of at the prow of the boat, and you see him standing there in all his glory, lantern in hand. Yeah.
Is there a, like, just to clear, like, is he normal size? Like, this is we're of the same size. He's not like a giant.
That's right.
Okay,
He's
cool.
normal size. He's just dressed in the remarkable manner
that's fine.
Was described before.
Yeah. Okay. How, like, my friends are supposed to be coming, I think.
Yeah, and let's cut here while Soul explains to you kind of what's what, and let's go back to the waking world. So you all, this crazy thing happens. You take a spill on the floor, and there is this, suddenly there's this thing. So
we couldn't fight the bed. We couldn't try to like get under the thing, or we just.
If you try, you can try. I bet you do try, but it pushes you off the boat, and then
I just want to make sure I tried.
And it's in this cradle. It's like a giant seed pod, and it's this vermilion with this kind of, these kind of almost like, I mean, I guess it's a little bit like a watermelon in its coloring. With kind of red stripes running through it. Some kind of organic matter, almost looks like a kind of a pod or something. So yeah.
Yeah, this is getting weirder by the second.
I'm pretty sure we were meant to be able to follow Slain into this to
I
Zion.
poke it.
It,
I
it
kick it a little.
it's not that hard. It's kind of soft, and it seems kind of soft. Yeah.
Is there any aperture, any entrance, any?
There's no aperture walking around it that you can see. I mean, the front of it kind of looks like it comes together where the prow of the boat is. Like if you were gonna peel it, that seems like a natural place to kind of, but it's not. There's no aperture.
Should we try open an aperture?
Well, we'll have to be very careful with it. We wouldn't want to injure Slain now if he's still inside. I'll gently at the front poke my sword in and peel it
Well,
aside.
I
Yeah.
have a dagger.
Oh.
The sword goes right. No, it's fine. The sword goes right in, and as you lift it, you do find that it kind of peels. It kind of tears, but very gently, almost as if it was meant to open at this spot. And inside there's no ship. There's nothing. What there is the pod. And then at the back of the pod, there's this crazy looking tunnel that just seems, this seems totally impossible because there's nothing outside the pod. I mean, there was the attic outside the pod. The pod was totally enclosed. But at the back of this, there's a tunnel. And you can see it goes forward. It's like round, almost like, I mean, and it's like kind of a kind of pinkish purple. And there are like colors kind of coruscating around it. And you see it goes forward for a while and then seems to turn. But there's like this bizarre passageway at the back of the pod. Yeah.
All right.
I think there was something on the tea he served us. Nick served us.
Perhaps we just keep if we just walk through. Worst case, we end up smashing our heads into the side of the attic. But come on, let's
that's
head in.
true. I'm wearing a helmet, so that's no problem.
This
Okay.
mask is.
So
Okay.
you begin marching through this strange surface. I mean, in this strange, and it like bends and twists, and the tunnel seems kind of rubbery.
Is it pulsating or something?
It has colors that kind of flicker across it, but you don't feel it's kind of strangely smooth, but you don't feel any like pulsing or anything in there. But but it does kind of twist and turn and wind and sometimes go, kind of gently incline up or down. And it's going on for a while before you see another end to it. And then you're coming out at the ship in the pod on the other side. That's yeah.
Wow.
Just as I turn to Saul and say, that all makes a ton of sense because he just explained everything to me. No, I'm just-
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Is there anything you want to tell them? I can say, I mean, he does explain that Elspeth came this way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
Often.
I was just joking. Yeah, I was curious
Yeah.
what Saul actually had to say. So how do you know my aunt?
Yeah.
And how do we go back? Do we go back the same way through the tunnel?
She said there was another potion that
Yeah,
goes
to take us back.
Yeah,
that would
but
take
he
you
wakes
back.
up, but we are not sleeping.
Well,
Yeah.
sorry. In this pod, though, there is her boat. Like at the other end, there is a pod that has her boat, and outside it, you can see Celine is there, and Celine is talking to someone who you don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, Saul. What did Saul tell
Yeah.
Celine?
So I'm gonna say, Celine, I've known your
Godmother.
sorry. Trying to get the voice right, not trying to get too southern here. I've known Elspeth for years and years. I've gone on many journeys, both near and far, and different planes of existences in between with her. And she told me that she had one more journey that she wanted to make, right? Did she send you a message about that too?
She did, yeah. That's what I think I'm doing right now.
Yeah, so I guess we're both I'm here to help you bear her down to that river, man.
Okay.
All right.
My one last favor to her.
So
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So do you know how we go back after we finish this?
So you do know this. You know that the way these things work is there's one kind of potion that takes you, there's one recipe for a potion that takes you from the waking world to the dreamlands. This pod will exist for a while,
Mhm.
you know, like an hour and a half, 2 hours or something, and can be gone through in either direction during that time. But there is a second potion that will take you from Wishery to the waking world, which you know the people in Wishery call Pale Echo, their waking world. Called Pale Echo, and that's a different kind of potion, but it's very similar. Although you know that the pod it creates like is gray and drab and smells of mothballs.
Oh,
Um,
this other potion creates a pod too. Like
yeah,
we
it
can
creates
go
a pod
through.
that
Yeah.
with a tunnel that goes
Ah,
yeah back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
this pod will stay, the pod that has the boat that I'm kind of like, that I was talking, we're talking around now, that's going to stay for about an hour or so.
Yeah.
An hour or
Maybe an
two.
hour and a half. Yeah, an hour
Maybe
or two.
an hour and
Right.
a half. And
Yeah.
then, but we can get stuff to make another pod that'll send them back.
Right.
Because I know I probably have my own bag of tricks that they probably won't.
Yeah, you know, you've probably been to Elspeth's, their
Yeah.
world before with her, but you don't, that's, you know, not where your home is.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
not-
travel more freely. You're freer. You travel more
Mhm.
freely,
Mm.
you know, because you have a different way of coming and going. It's harder for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess so. Do we like? How do we get the boat out of the pod?
It's gonna be hard. You're gonna have to pull it. I mean, the pod is a little soft and slippery, and so you do think like you can get it if you pull it. But it's gonna be really. It's gonna take a lot of pushing and pulling. It's gonna be really hard. But you can see. Let me describe the space you're in, and then I can lay down some kind of rules when you start to move into it. But let me describe
Yes, that's what I was about to
this space. So you're in. You can't see much because it's dark. You have a smell. There's this smell, a sewer smell, that immediately hits your nose. There is a kind of roar. You have a sense that you're in a big room, maybe where there's something kind of like a rapids or something, maybe where a bunch of tributaries feed in. It feels very big. I mean, you can't see the ceiling or anything. You can't see much
Wow.
beyond the piece of rock you're on and kind of water around you. But you can see something. You can see that up ahead of you, it looks like there are kind of two different channels that set off. And then back behind you, in what you think is the direction of the bigger space where there's kind of a roar, you do see some lights a little ways back. A couple of things that look like maybe flickering torches. They're a little ways away, small. But then a brighter light that's kind of high up. And that's part of what gives you the sense this is a big space. There's some bright light. It's not focused on you, but so there's some kind of structure where there's some kind of lights like back in this big chamber. It must be on, you don't know, some kind of island or a ledge or the other side of it, or, you know, you don't really know. But it's quite close. The pod is quite close to the water. And so if you just pull the boat out, you ought to be able to get it into the water right here. And I'm going to, at this point, screen share a map with you and tell you some rules about how this will work.
All right, if you're watching right now, world premiere.
World premiere. This is all the cartography and all the zines is by Gus L, who is a wonderful game designer and cartographer. I'm looking at screen sharing. Where
Should be present now in the bottom right hand corner.
Thank you. Google Hangouts has undergone so many.
Oh, this is Google Meet is slightly different than Hangouts, but
right,
yes,
right, the successor.
Yeah.
Okay, so so that okay, so you're looking now at this map of the sewer that you've been given. The area you are in is the area that is labeled Sanitarium of the Benefactors, okay, at the very top of the map. So the light is back into that space labeled Sanitarium of the Benefactors. Perhaps it's that large structure that's depicted right there, kind of near the label. But there, you can see that it goes from here forward. If you are trying to get to the Great Falls, you can see it's at the bottom of this map. And you can see that there are two passageways here. She told Celine which way he would be facing and so on. So we'll assume it's clear which is which to you. There is the Inquisitor's Theater lies one way and the Churning Gate lies another way. The Churning Gate is kind of on a side path and the Inquisitor's Theater winds on towards the falls. I will tell you that I'm going to just, because this is how I like to run in these kinds of old school games, let me tell you, just be upfront about the mechanics here. The mechanics are the following. When you transit between one point and another point on this point crawl, it takes about 20 minutes of traveling down the sewer. I'll have you roll an encounter check. There's a 2 in 6 chance that you will encounter something. If you do, in an old school game, I mean, I don't think this is so different from 5e, but it's not an assumption that every encounter is a combat or something like that. If you're surprised and they're the type to engage in combat, then probably there would be combat, but otherwise, you will have, you're just going to meet something and we'll, see what happens. But so there's a 2 in 6 chance of an encounter. And also, as you'll see as you move into this space, these are not like neat tunnels. They're full of tributaries and side paths and catwalks and all manner of things you could poke around in. And so between any 2 points, you can also hazard an additional encounter check to search for a hidden location. You have a 1 in 6 chance of finding it if you do that. So anyway, you're kind of at the cusp of the thing labeled Sanitarium of the Benefactors that lies behind you. Beyond lie these two kind of channels. And so, yeah. Let's assume you've gotten the boat into the water. It was not easy. It's in the water. It's a very well-built boat. So, you're able to climb in it. I'll kind of want to know who's at the front and who's at the back. You can kind of squeeze along the side to get from the front or back. It's not real hard. They took out the seats to put this, altar in, and you can kind of squeeze past it on either side. But, I will want to know, there's also a hook at the front and the back to hang a lantern from.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of where you're at. And so you can just tell me what you want to do. As I was saying to everyone before we started, this is, not really, the Ultan Store 3 opens up just a huge kind of sandboxy point crawl environment. And so, the world is their oyster. This is not a kind of typical one shot. There was some tight framing, but from here, we just play to see what happens. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So what do you want to do?
Celine is gonna take up position near Elspeth's body, I think. Like in his mind, he's here holding vigil for his godmother. Though as a you know, with the stories that she told him as a child and his experiences with Manayun, I think he's also kind of incredibly delighted and interested in the fact that he thinks this may be kind of another level ascended up into dreaming, which is kind of been a goal of his to kind of transcend in the waking realm. So he is thrilled and kind of somber at the same time.
Yeah.
So
he'll kind of stand alongside her.
Right. Kind of as, in kind of a vigilant position.
I love it.
And so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I would probably go to the back of the boat and I'll call out to Soul and go, well, you've been here before and it's best you take the front and lead the boat. I'll be at the back to make sure nothing comes in from behind, and I'll pull out my lantern, I'll light it, pour in a bottle of oil, and I'll hang it on the back. So my lantern's hung on the back of the boat.
And just be like, you read my mind. You read my mind. All right, let's go. And gonna climb up towards the front. You know, like I know that the ship is probably perfectly built, just being the kind of person that Elspeth is. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, doing this again. Would I'd rather be on solid ground with something in my system, but you know, going through this. And I hooked my lamp up and I look down and try and think of like the safest, how I might like call out for steering or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. And Diogo is Drar, is that's the name of your character?
Yeah.
Is that right? Drar is
Yeah.
front or back?
Well, since Charmaine's character, which is a fighter, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's on the back. I will go to the front, so we have two strong people at either side. So if anything happens, we have someone there to deal with it. So.
Okay, and so Kelsey, you're okay in the back?
Well, I was thinking front because I'm good at listening and whatnot. But if
you can do that. You can do that. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of room up there. Yeah. So okay. Sounds good. All right. All right, Ellie's up front. Okay. So great. So what do you want to do?
So Campbell, since I think out of deference for the most part, none of the rest of our characters have any idea anything that's here, and you do. So why don't you pick the initial route?
Okay. Looking at the map, like I don't know, the Churning Gate just doesn't sound like a really inviting place to me. So I think
not that the Inquisitor's Feeder sounds very inviting too.
Yeah, but we might be able to speed past the Inquisitor's Theater if we can
roll really fast.
Yeah, get to the catacombs, and if we do that, we can get to the catacombs of the flesh squid. I don't know if this I don't know that any of the names are going to necessarily inspire a lot of excitement, but yeah.
Hey,
So am I hearing forward on the path to the? Were you thinking forward on the path to that leads to the Inquisitor's Theater?
I was thinking towards the Inquisitor Theater, and then when we get close to the Inquisitor Theater, maybe just all hands just row so we can just kind of get by there as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Good. So towards the Inquisitor's Theater.
All about getting Elspeth to a resting place in one piece with all of us in one piece too.
Okay.
Me and my 10 hit points.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what each of them are or not?
Yeah, could I do that?
Yeah. So I gave him a little mechanic that he could roll. So go ahead, roll 2d6, and I give you some very general information.
While he's doing that, if you're just joining us,
What'd you got?
we are playing.
12.
No, hold on.
I don't know if that even matters, but yeah, I got a 12 on my first roll. I guess because I just want to know basically if what would be the faster.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I'll give you some general information in a second. But Tony, what were you saying?
I was going to let everybody who's watching know, because you said a little bit of a spike, that we are playing through Ultan's Door, which is the third. We're playing the third installation that's just about to come up on Kickstarter next week. Ben, who is the creator, is DMing for us, and we're using Old School Essentials by Necrotic Gnome to play. So wherever you are watching at us, feel free to join us as we explore the sewers of Dreamland. And so.
Okay, and the fact that you're just setting sail right now. Okay, so you turn and begin to row down this passageway that leads away from the large space label. Oh, sorry, but you made your roll. Let me tell you a little bit. Here's what you would know. You've never been here in this spot before. But you do know something about the Undercity here. You know that there are these great guilds of Zion that are more like, they're sort of like religious organizations in a way. I mean, they each kind of worship some aspect of a strange deity, and a lot of these names signify in that way to you. So you know the Inquisitors are one, they're like the law keepers. You know that the Fleisch Guild is another, they're like butcher priests, they sacrifice things. The benefactors too, you think there's something about charitable works. You're not too sure about any of these, what all they're up to, but you recognize those names. Beyond that, you do know, I mean, the general vibe is that this is Zion, the city, and there has been in a decline for a long time. And so your sense is that the Undercity is a kind of forsaken place to some extent. Like you're not sure how much of this is still operating or how much of it is ruins. I mean, another thing though you do think is that these guild holdings will be, you think, likely dripping with treasure, wonders of all kinds. I mean, these are, kind of centers of power, that is the organizations. And they used to have all these holdings in the kind of Undercity where they, did their kind of various business, temple business, and kept their secret things and so on. So, that's kind of the vibe you would have. So
Okay.
maybe some of them will be not in operation, others might be, you don't know. They're certainly, alluring from one point of view, but that's kind of what I think you would know about it.
Yeah. So I'll probably just say, a lot of these places are half dead. There might be some interesting things in there that we can scope out if it looks safe, or we can just continue on our merry mystery trip on down the river. But these are different temples, different cults, different factions of this Undercity. Some might be friendly, some might be not so much, some might ignore us altogether. But to be honest with y'all, I know some things, but I don't know everything. So yeah. But what's Elspeth without being complicated?
Okay.
Oh, the churning gate doesn't look so bad now because there doesn't seem to be anyone there. So.
Yeah, you don't know what that is, right?
Yeah. Looks like could be a dead end though.
Yeah, I don't see a path connecting to the rest of
to the Great Falls.
Right.
Well, let's head forward, and
Okay.
you know, if we see a good place to stop off and maybe go see
Yeah.
the churning gate, we can go check it out if we want to.
Okay. All right. So you set off down towards the ruins of the Inquisitor's Theater. And you know, as you move through this space, you know, at first, the terrain changes. I mean, that is the tunnel you're in. At times it's like a kind of brickwork. At other times, it might move through some natural caverns for a little while. They're often like catwalks and like little kind of landings and things as you kind of move forward. Do you just want to move forward, or are you gonna spend any time poking around between these two transit points?
You know, I think for my character,
Do we-
he's mostly keeping vigil, so I don't think he'd be inclined to poke around. But I think that opens it
Do
up
we
for
see
anyone
anything
else.
interesting on the sides? For
There's
us to
always,
look around?
yeah, it's always like alluring. I mean, there is a lot, I mean, that you could get into. And so, you know, if you want to do that, yes, there is. And so you can roll. You'll get, the mechanic is you have a 1 in 6 chance of finding some secret location, but that you hazard an additional encounter check. We're about to roll an encounter check, but you tell me first if you want to poke around.
It sounds like Drar wants to get up to something.
I mean, we're here to
Yeah.
showcase this.
Oh, yeah,
stuff,
no,
so
I know.
Why
I'm-
not? Yeah. I mean, let's poke around. I mean, we're in a weird place with
Sure.
wearing
Okay.
a three-eyed elephant mask, so nobody will recognize me anyway.
That's the main
some
thing.
stuff.
No one will recognize you.
Well,
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Diogo, why don't you roll the D6 poke around roll then? Is that what
Yeah,
it is?
Sure.
Ben?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I'm staying
Yeah, I
on.
rolled a 5, so
Okay.
I didn't
Kelsey-
find anything.
Kelsey, why don't you roll the first of the two encounter checks? A D6 on a 1 or 2. There's something. You bump into something.
That's a 4.
Okay. Campbell, you want to roll the second one for the poking around?
All right. Got a 6.
Okay, so you know, it's fine. You know, you get into some byways and so on, but it's nothing is kind of
Do we
panning
see
out.
other boats or the ships or like
No.
small people?
No, it's
just
all
walking around?
silent. I
Deserted.
mean, it's all deserted. There's the smell of sewer everywhere. It's
Okay.
very dilapidated. You know, you end up in kind of tributaries that turn out to be kind of dead ends, or you get into places and you kind of climb off and you just end up in like these crawl spaces that eventually are blocked, or you know, things like that. Yeah, do you want to poke around again? I give you another check if you want to do it. You can do this as many times as you want before you get to the Inquisitor's Theater.
Just imagine the dwarf hopping off the boat, like running alongside, and then hopping back on again, and be like, "There's nothing."
Well, I have an
Okay,
answer.
this
I'm
is-
just looking.
Yeah.
I just want to. I want to check the water to see if there's anything like underneath us, like because there's almost always something in the water.
Yeah, you know, you do see different things. You know, I mean, one thing is there's sewage now and again, things that you think are sewage. There's also like, detritus, trash that sort of floats by now and again.
We
The
don't
water
see
is
like a
super
large form just swimming.
no, and in
below
fact, you
us.
can't. It's kind of alarming when you do that because you can't see. The water is real thick and unpleasant, and so you can't really see in there. But no, it doesn't seem like.
But
Um,
we passed through to some ruins, as you said, right?
Yeah.
So can we collect some stones so we can throw in the water sometimes?
Absolutely,
I-
100%.
One of these times we're getting out,
And
like
throw on stuff too.
I think typically Slane stays in the boat unless people are getting kind of further away. But one of these times he needs to stretch his legs or he gets out. I did roll a 1 this time on poker.
Woohoo! Okay, roll a d6. Roll a d6 then, and tell me what you got.
I got a 3.
Okay. Okay.
Poking
So
around.
yeah. Okay. So 1 second. Okay, so here's what you find. There are all manners of, all manners of different things, including things more dramatic than this, but this is a pretty good find. So some scrambling and poking around in dried sewer pipes in the wall shows Celine. There's a kind of 4-foot tall network of dried tunnels of copper piping, and in a sort of dead end behind a rusted gate, you all find, maybe Ellie finds a stash of goods that are covered by a canvas tarp. And there are 2 boxes, like crates. And in each of them, they're neatly packed clay pots that are wax sealed. And each is glazed with what looks like a color wheel on the top of it. Yeah. So you found these boxes. I mean, they're these sealed clay pots.
So
They're
each
like about this big each.
Oh,
They're like jars, and they're stacked on top of each other in these crates, and they each have the same stamp of what looks like a kind of color wheel on them. They're sealed by wax, although you can see the wax is broken away on some of the pots.
So, but how many pots? Just 2 then, right? Or
No, 2
boxes?
crates, two boxes of them. So there maybe there are a total of like, let's say there are 12 per box. There are like 24 of these little jars, sealed jars that have this color
Shape
wheel.
of them? Is it like solid things in it, or is it liquidy? Like I'll take a
There's-
little.
Maybe it's like a powder or something.
You said the wax
And
was.
one of them is kind of
Doesn't feel like mummified organs. Okay.
No, I mean, it sounds more like sand almost.
Okay.
And one of them is it's open. Almost
Yeah,
open,
yeah.
like
If you
that,
want
right?
to, yeah, there's one with the seal, a
Yeah.
number with the seal. Yeah, inside.
Let's
I mean,
open up and
I'm gonna
see.
take a handkerchief and tie it over my face. Because I already
yeah,
smell.
I was gonna check them for traps, but if everyone's just going straight to sniffing them, never mind.
Shaking it.
yeah. You can exercise some due caution, but yeah, what you find is that it takes you a minute to figure out what you're looking at, but you think that they're pigments, and that the ones with the broken seal are like kind of ruined, but the other ones, and I would say Ellie is looking at this. This looks super valuable to you. I mean, extremely valuable. I mean, you don't know what these pigments are, first of all, like which ones they are, but this looks quite valuable to you.
Well, they have like a color wheel, right? So it's like a prismatic pigment or something. I don't know.
Right. And they do, they
The
do
one
look
that's
remarkable.
open, if I pass on my skin or something, does it
Yeah.
change anything or?
Yeah, if you rub it on your skin, you can see very vividly a color, and maybe it's like a kind of a brilliant yellowish with a kind of silvery kind of sheen. You haven't really seen something like this before, and it's kind of staining your arm, something like that.
That's probably fine.
Yeah.
So
No
it's-
worries.
Eli, are these worth anything?
Yeah. Ellie, I think
Ellie,
he's
sorry.
asking.
Ellie, are these worth anything?
Probably.
Yeah. You think a lot.
Yeah.
I know
Do I say
my
that?
aunt brought some paints back one time, but they were like labeled. This is weird.
Yeah.
Maybe they're illegal or super dangerous.
I look over at Drar pouring them all over his arm. As he says
Like, I
that.
don't know. Do you feel weird?
I'm like, Drar, I can help you with that if anything happens. So just stay close. Okay.
Yeah,
I was
Yeah,
hoping they
you-
were explosives, but
Yeah, you
so you
want
cut them with your body?
to? Yeah. What are you doing? Do you take it? Do you want to take them back to the boat?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think it's a time to roll the second encounter check for the second hazarding. So Campbell, why don't you roll a d6? Tell me if you get a 1 or a 2.
Here we go.
Got a 5.
Okay. All right. So you come back to the boat. I mean, already it's seeming like a profitable expedition.
I'm like, guys, it's not about the money though. It's about
Is
this
it not?
task,
Is
man.
it not?
No, it's not, but this is still real nice.
Yeah. I mean, Elspeth in her letter told me to bring some of my friends who might be interested in finding amazing items,
yeah.
and so that's why that's why I brought this cruise. So, I mean, as much as I'm here to accompany her into the next realm, this is what she wanted for us also too. So, I mean, this is part of honoring her wishes.
Sent me a different memo. Well, that's what memos are.
So, yeah.
would
She
be
may have
proud
said
of us.
something about show them a proper adventure or something. That may have been part of it. But yeah. So okay. So yeah. So what do you? Okay. So you get back to the boat. Do you want to head to the? You feel like you've exhausted this stretch of the sewer. So let's bring you to the ruins of the Inquisitor's Theater.
Sounds great.
So soon you're rowing and it's coming into view. Let me screen share a different map. There won't be much on it now, but if you disembark, one second. Let me get it.
If you're just joining us, we're playing through Ultan's Door, which is the third installation. The series by Ben, who's running it for us. This is a first public view. We're getting to this, but we're crawling through the sewers of Dreamland right now, which we have accessed in some pretty unique ways.
Yeah. So as you move into the space, you see ahead of you the first, there is a kind of more dramatic set of piers that are coming off of a long landing in which there's a door and also some steps that lead up to what looks like a kind of rusted portcullis. It's not closed all the way. It may be rusted in place. So if you see where that circle is, that's where the portcullis is up those stairs, and the door is this thing here. You also see there are these two kind of once grand maybe piers that are now kind of decayed, but there is a boat moored at one of them, a fantastic looking canoe, painted green or perhaps of green wood. The prow is in the shape of a dragon. A dragon's head, and as you are kind of coming towards it, the light, falls on velvet cushions and so on. So there's definitely a place that one could disembark here, and there is also you can see the stonework is also carved with, there are some, sort of it almost looks like many masks clustered together. It's sort of, I might, there are vibes of the, kind of, the masks, the laughing and crying thespian masks. There's a little bit of that sort of vibe in the kind of some of these, this kind of the light is catching on some stonework there. But so yeah, but you don't see anybody. But this is definitely a spot that you could pull up to if you wanted to.
Did you say that these were like the Lawkeepers Guild, or who is this again?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it seems like, I mean, do we want to go here? Do we want to go to the churning gates?
The catacombs would be the next stop on the route you're you're traveling. I'll stop presenting that little map for the moment. But yeah, so you know, you could pull up here if you want to, or you could just row right past. Your choice.
Or can we go back to, or there's a current? Like we
No,
can't go
you
back.
can go back. It just takes a
Okay.
little bit longer, but mechanically
Yeah.
it's the same.
Yeah, we can
It
go
takes
either
you
way.
about 20 minutes to move between one point and another going downstream, and about 30 minutes going upstream.
Okay.
Okay. Do we see any movements, any signs, any smoke, any light, any sounds?
Yeah, roll it. Why don't you roll a d6?
Hear noise?
Yeah, for us now, Diogo. You roll the encounter check for me, and I'll tell you if you see.
Okay. The dwarf has that hear noise ability there, so.
Okay.
But I rolled a 3, so. No.
Or are you trying to hear no? Yeah, do you and the thief want to listen? Go ahead. Why don't you both roll for that and tell me if you got a success, and I'll.
Is that a D6 or something else?
Here I
I
have
think it's this 6. Mine
D6.
is one. Mine is 2 and 6. So.
Yeah, and yours is 2 probably, Ellie. So why don't
Actually,
you both roll?
mine is 1 and 3.
That's right. 2. Yeah,
One,
that's
two,
right.
yeah, same
So
thing.
yeah, so go ahead. Roll. Both of you roll a d6 and tell me if you got a 1 or 2.
I got a 2 this time.
I got a 4.
Okay, so your ears do pick up something. There's a kind of sound of piping, and it comes from, you know, that space where the door is. And maybe, yeah, there's a kind of, you know, so if there were kind of 2 ways in. There's one, this kind of door, and the other, these steps that lead up to a door, and the other steps that lead up to a kind of rusted portcullis that's not closed all the way. And you think from like the area where that door is, there's a kind of sound of piping.
Piping, like someone playing a pipe?
Yeah.
Creepy.
I mean, it sounds like
Well,
a party.
Do they play
do-
well at least, or just it's bad? It's good or it's bad?
Campbell, what languages did you take? Remind me.
I took Common. I took the cats. Now that I know more about the guild, I probably should have taken the guild. The guild.
Okay, but yeah, okay. So anyway, yeah. So what do you guys want to do?
I mean, do we want to get out here and see what the music's all about?
Might be able to get some information that'll help us out with the other. I mean, as long as we're lawful, and
your aunts probably would want you
like,
to take part in a party here on this crazy dream world, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's moor up the boat then.
Okay. All right. So you moor up the boat. You know, you can do it at the next pier over next to this other boat that is also pretty fancy. That
keep the engines running too.
Yeah, keep the engines running. Exactly. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So what do you want to do? You get off. You're able to climb off onto this sort of rotting pier and then get onto into this area. And there are, you know, 2 ways you could go. There are these steps that lead up to a door. It's like a metal door, normal size door. It's pretty nondescript. There is, or there are these slightly grander steps that lead up to this rusted portcullis. So here, if I start screen sharing again this map, you'll see the 2 options here. So yeah, tell me. So the stairs up to the portcullis, rusted portcullis, are here, and the kind of little steps that lead up to this door are over here. So
and
which
from the door?
What's that?
We heard the music coming from the door, not from
That's right. Correct. Yeah.
I would say go to the door, I guess.
I'll,
Music.
I'll walk up and
Greetings.
I'll walk up and knock on the door.
Okay. Bang, bang, bang. It rings out. Okay. So you do that. Okay. Things you think you hear the piping music stop. And after a little while, you what are you all going to be doing while this is unfolding?
I'm right behind him and just
I kind of want to
I'm-
hide.
I'm
Yeah.
hanging back a little bit. I'm probably like the furthest away from the door because I'm kind of like trying to keep an eye on the door and the boat at the same time because I don't, even though I do think we should try and get some more information before moving forward, I'm still like cautious about being in this place.
I'll probably check out the other boat. Like, does that other boat look like it held a lot of people, like a group of 20?
Yeah. It looks like maybe it's a little smaller than your boat, so
Oh.
you're guessing maybe it could hold something like maybe 12 people in total. I mean, your boat, if it didn't have the beer in it, could hold a lot. But yeah, it looks it looks pretty grand. I mean, it looks like, I mean, you could search it if you want to. You can see their velvet seats. There's a kind of ornate looking lantern that's off. It's not lit. That's hanging also from a hook on it. Yeah. So yeah.
I would just be just looking at it just to see
Okay.
and kind of guesstimate how many people might be at the party.
Yeah.
If it is a party.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you okay, you soon let me make a check here about this. Okay, so you see soon you hear footsteps coming up to the door. There's kind of some jangling of bells, and there's like a lock. You hear a lock turning, and then
That seems like an absolutely great place to take our first break.
great. Let's do it. Okay, I'll refresh my drink. Yeah,
So
perfect.
we are going to take just a 5-minute break real quick for us so we can get up, stretch,
Sure.
walk around, not get too tired. If you're at home and you want to take a break also too, that's great, but come back at about 15 after whatever hour it is for you right now. We're going to keep on exploring the sewers of Dreamland and through Ultan's Door 3 using Old School Essentials by Necrotic Gnome. I'm at Tony Vicinda. And we are +1 EXP. You can follow us if you're watching on whatever you're watching on. Just follow us. It'll be great. And we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Okay, great.
okay.
was just recapping for people.
Yep. All right, and we are live again playing through Ultan's Door 3, exploring the sewers of Dreamland. Ben, take us back in.
Yeah, so the party is on a mission to bring a dead, on a kind of funeral ride on a canoe headed towards the Great Falls for a burial in the heavens below. For the godmother of one of the party, but it's their first time in the Dreamlands, and so they're poking around.
For some of us.
For some of you, for all but one, that's true. Saul is not new to the Dreamlands, but you. So the party has disembarked just now, having come down the sewer river from the sanitarium of the benefactors to the ruins of the Inquisitors Guild. They found some treasure, some pigments, some remarkable hues in the passage between the 2 points, and are now disembarking, and they've knocked on a door, a metal door, and so they're on a kind of stone kind of walkway. There are some rotting piers, their own boat. There's another boat docked at it, and there's some steps that lead up to a portcullis at one end that's sort of rusted, almost all the way closed, but not quite. And then there's a metal door they were knocking on. And when they knocked, they heard eventually some footsteps and then kind of jangling of bells. And then the door opened a crack. And on the other side, you can see a pale, very pale, utterly pale, white face with what looks like no mask and what looks like a blackened mouth. I mean, it would be like it was wearing black lipstick, but it's not shiny, and the black kind of spreads out onto the area around the mouth. Kind of ragged white hair, and you can see this kind of just like a half of this face kind of looking out at you. Now, Kelsey, was Ellie, did you say Ellie was hiding? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to roll that up for me?
Thing.
How does the thief work in this version? And I think you have an advantage on this, actually, right now, because I would say you're in pretty hospitable. It's dark. There's very little light.
Yeah.
It'd be very easy to kind of disappear. So why don't we give you an extra 20% on the hide in shadows? And go ahead.
That is a 23.
So you made it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. So, okay, but so you see this face, and it's like looking at you. There's one eye looking out of this pale face at you guys. There's light in there, like a torch. You can see it. There's like torchlight. Yeah. What do you do?
We had we're floating by. We're on our way to the Great Falls, and heard your music, and we're encouraged to come by. It sounded so beautiful. I just we've never traveled this way before, and didn't know if you might be able to give us any advice.
Sorry to interrupt your festivities as well.
Yeah, I should say also you can see around this individual's neck. You're not sure if it's a man or a woman or what the deal is, but there's looks like shepherd's pipes hanging around the neck too. And you, okay, Ellie sees from her hiding place, or I suppose she doesn't see. The party was surprised I rolled for it, but she's not seen. Okay, let's just say that. But from under the portcullis have crept some more of these figures, and they're on the, by the time you realize, they're on the walkway. There are 3 of them, and you can see them standing in rags. They're pretty close to you, okay? And they have, but they didn't attack. I mean, they could have like set upon you, and they didn't do that.
Do they have arms? They're
Yes, they have arms. They have rusted weapons, like one
they're
kind of,
drawn out.
yes, one a cleaver, one a rusted sword, one like a big like club that has nails pounded into it like that. But that's actually not the most alarming thing. The most alarming thing is that in front of them, like on a leash, is this emaciated kind of dog-like thing, the head of which looks kind of like almost like a horse skull. Okay, it's really, and it's, you know, it's pretty big. It's like a big dog, but it's got this kind of eerie horse skull-like head, and it's like, you know, right kind of up in your grill. Now they don't know that Ellie is here, okay? So Ellie is a free agent, but the rest of the party,
so no one else knows that. Ellie knows that. They know that. They don't know that Ellie's there, but they know that we're here.
Right, and you know they're there, actually.
Okay, we know they're
there.
They
make themselves, they, like, maybe the dog starts snuffling, and they wait for you to notice, and then the door opens more, and you see 3 more of these guys standing at the door, like up those steps, and they're kind of looking out. They've got a torch. The other ones don't have torches. They came in the darkness, creeping. But yeah,
we mean no harm. We are solely on a mission to bury my godmother, and we're merely looking for advice on the best way to travel.
Okay.
How big are them?
They're you know, they're about 6. They all look like tall humans, maybe. I mean, but they do have these kind of, I mean, they look kind of hungry. I mean, they look, perhaps they are underfed, but they also have these kind of very long faces, and this kind of white, all their hair is white, but they don't seem that old. And there's a kind of, you know, ragged look to them. But I have to say the most disconcerting thing, other than the dog, is this like blackened face, and their lips look withered. And there's this kind of black stain on the mouth. And they're not saying anything. They're just not, there's no sound kind of coming from them.
Do we have space to back out?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have some space. I mean, so, you know, like maybe there's probably about like 20 feet between you and the edge of this walkway, but the door is like right at the back of that, right? And they're coming from the other side, and maybe they've just cut you off from your boat. I mean, you could kind of get there by jumping onto the pier and then jumping onto the next pier and getting to the boat. But, you know, something like that, that's the kind of scene. Now, Ellie can move freely. She can be, you know, moving along by the water. She can go wherever she wants. Nobody knows where she's at. But that's where they are. But, you know, so you say those things, and they're like, you know, they don't say anything. And in fact, the one at the foot of the stairs that you were like talking to is like,
Can I check to see? I know that I don't have the language, but can I check to see if this is some kind of sign language thing?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. 2d6, right?
Yep.
Got 6. Okay.
It does ring. There's something. You know, you should know something about this, but you're not sure. You're not sure.
Do I have a real chance to jump to the pier and get to the boat?
Yeah, you could make that move.
But and they haven't actually said anything at all, right?
Is there
Nothing.
any risk?
Utterly silent, except for this dog snuffling.
Is there
This
any
horse
risk
skull
for
dog.
falling down or anything?
I would say, let's say,
Would I get
good
injured?
question.
I mean, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So let's say there's, yeah, let's say that if they, let's say that if they decide to attack you and you get hit, that there's a chance you'll fall in the water. Let's say a 50% chance.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you did it and you kind of get away with it, or you win initiative and you do it, you could just go there, it's fine. But if you get interrupted by them messing with you, then yeah, maybe you would be a bit exposed, and you say there's a 50% chance you'll fall in the water if you're struck.
If you'll just hold your hound, and we will leave if you do not want us here. And I will start.
Are they advancing still? Or
They're not really advancing. Why don't you roll? Why actually, Charmaine? Why don't you roll 2d6? We'll do a reaction roll at this tense moment to see.
6.
Okay. Okay. A 6.
A 3 and a 3.
On the reaction roll. Okay. Yeah, they're neither advancing nor retreating. And they they seem uncertain.
Okay. I'll place myself between the weaker members of the party and these white-faced, black-lipped people, and I'll start slowly taking, cautious steps towards the boat and seeing if they back away.
Yeah, I think they probably do back away a bit. I mean, the hound is
Diogo,
like
you're
kind
muted.
of...
Yeah, we just put the hands up and point to the boats, and we start going slowly there.
Like the awkward stepping to the right tango. We all rotate around.
Okay. I think they're like kind of willing to let you move towards the boat, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Do you all want to...
Where is Ellie at this point in time? That's the question.
I think Ellie is slowly making her way back towards the boat so she can backstab if things go bad.
Yeah,
because that's a thing I can do.
Yeah, I think the guy at the door steps down the steps with the two guys coming as you're backing away, and he's like, he's gesturing at you, and he like reaches in, like it turns out a pocket and says,
I'll flick a coin at him.
It's a single coin.
I don't know what he wants.
No, you give him this coin, and he's just like he gestures like he wants to eat something.
I literally
or and then another one holds up their sword, and it's like and points at Elspeth's body, holding the sword. Is like but anyway, what do you guys do?
I throw some rations at
them. You
them.
have some rations? Great. Okay. All right. They start opening it, and they seem to like that. Seems good.
I'll grab some other rations out of mine and toss them out of the pile as we are kind of making our way back towards the...
Okay, they kind of leave you, like they kind of start rifling through the stuff that you've thrown, and kind of pulling up smelling things and so on as you make your way back to the boat.
Before we go, I want to take one of the jars of the pigment that's already like cracked open.
Yeah.
Maybe like these guys need some color in their lives. And just,
Yes,
I'm
this
just
is
gonna like
what animals
walk
need.
over and just gonna take out some and like gonna kind of like theatrical flourish, just like blow it, not on anyone, just like away.
Yeah, this one comes like with wide eyes, and he picks up his pipes, and he starts playing his pipes, and another one picks up their pipes, and they pipe back at each other, back and forth, and he grabs it. This seems, and they're looking at it, and he's like, he seems excited actually. He seems excited by this.
Yeah. Oh man, this happened in Francisco last year, man.
Yeah.
It was great.
You had this literal experience.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we'll pull out a couple of the untapped jars, and I mean, I guess if they're kind of following us to the edge now, like hand them a couple of the jars of this.
No,
pigment.
that's valuable.
He does it. He does it.
A couple,
the
not
dwarf's
all of them.
No. But you
I mean,
hand them.
I also
Yeah.
think my life is valuable.
That's from your cut.
It's also a lot better than them like carving up Elspeth for a buffet. So.
Right.
Yeah. So
Or us.
If you hand a
rather let us
couple,
go to the boats. We don't have to give them stuff.
I mean, if you Celine, it sounds like there's a little disagreement, but I'm hearing that Celine is just takes two of the, let's say two, is that
Let's take
same?
two of them.
Yeah, two of these jars, and
We have
they
about what at least
24.
a dozen, right?
yeah, 24 even, but some of them are spoiled. Let's say 6, so let's say you have 18 intact. But so yeah, you give two, and they open them, and there are these like wild bright colors inside, and they are really delighted, and there's like a serious nod, and then one guy steps up, and he's like, the guy who was like menacing you at first from the doorway comes up,
I hope they
And-
give us something now.
and he says
They will give us a corpse to eat.
he says he's gesturing down the way you're going, and he says he's like, he gestures, he says, one, and then the second one, he says let's roll. Why don't we just do it this way? Why don't you roll a d20 and try to roll under your equal to or under your intelligence, and I'll communicate a very basic. Let's just do one roll for the party. So
Okay.
let's say whoever is the highest intelligence can roll.
I think I've got.
I'm at 15.
15. You go. Oh, I've got to do 12. Go ahead and roll it.
So
Kimball.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna roll on the app because I realize the only d20s I have are spin down dice, and those aren't.
Yeah.
Those are for magic. Hold on. Right here. Okay, so 1d20.
Yeah.
And
Fail?
of course, I got
20.
natural.
Amazing. Yeah, you just can't. There's something he's trying to tell you about the second. You're thinking it's not the next one, but the one after, and he's trying to tell you something. He's really trying to tell you something. You're trying to get to the fallacy. He's like trying to tell you about it, but you just, for the life of you, you can't understand.
Yeah.
They're utterly silent. They're not speaking, and he's trying to tell you, but it's just not working, and it's not going to work. So
Cool. Take
Yeah.
this. Take the second
I
laugh. You
make
got it.
a thank you gesture.
um,
Oh man. The one time I rolled natural 20.
yeah. Amazing. So the oracular dice. Okay, so yeah, you guys are moving on, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, you push off. All right, you kind of head into the next segment down the river. I mean, so sweating, but maybe it's not so bad. But okay, you head forward. So first let's do, why don't we first do an encounter check, and then you can tell me if you want to poke around more. But Kelsey, why don't you roll an encounter check? 1d6, 1 or 2?
That's a 2.
Okay, why don't you roll a percentile dice, D100.
51.
Okay. Rolled a 51. Oh, good. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay. Why don't you roll another d6 to see if your party is surprised?
Oh God.
Uh,
It's a 1.
okay, you are. Okay. So, okay. Whoops.
The dice gods are not kind to us today.
Okay, you know it's true. Okay, let me roll. See how many of these things there are. Okay, a lot. Okay, so and one last thing. Would you roll a d12? This will kind of tell us what the scene is, where it happens, what it's like, where you're at when
A
this
bit
happens.
just for some behind the curtains. Is all this stuff that's in the
All of this. These I'm just using the mechanics. In fact, I'm holding up one of these encounter cards right here that are included with every zine, and it's got lay of the land, where the encounter happens, the rules, the secret locations, the encounters on the back with
Awesome.
reference to the zine itself, which I have only in printout form for the moment.
No,
But
that's
yeah,
great.
go ahead. What'd you roll?
I rolled an 8.
Okay, so so you're in a place where there's a brick wall that divides the river in two for an interval, and it's kind of punctuated by these ruined grills that give you a view like to the other side, so it's like for some reason the channel is divided in this way, and you just picked one side, and this is kind of where you're at. And it's it's you all of a sudden, as you don't see or hear anything, and suddenly the boat kind of rocks, and there are on each side of the boat, you see these heads kind of come up, and they're kind of grabbing on. They pulled themselves up each by pushing on one side and the other side, and so it's like the whole thing's rocking. And there are these heads, these kind of misshapen frog-like heads, pallid, white, and they popped up, from the water, dripping in sewer water, and kind of come up, and there are these kind of hands, clawed hands on either side, and what one of the faces, so the one is right next to, because they're sort of in the middle of the boat, and so like one is right next to Sleen, who's standing by the beer, and it looks right up at him, and it's always talking to Sleen. But maybe let's mix it up a little. Let's say they're actually more at the front and the back where you guys are more at, and so let's say that in the back where Charmaine is, there's one, one of the faces pops up, and anyone can speak to it. I'm not gatekeeping who talks. I just wanted to mix it up a little. But the face says, it says to you, hello. It says just in a kind of, you speaking your language apparently, in common of the waking world. It says to you, hello. It says greetings and salutations. It's like alarmingly close to your face. It's like right over, and there there are like four of these. Two coming up on your side in the back, and two on the other side coming up in the front near the other three that are up there. Greetings and salutations.
Greetings. Do you mean us harm, or are you just past hitching a ride? And I'll have like my shield kind of out, but not in a very defensive way. Just a bit wary, as one's like around the back as well.
I am with my shield up and my sword, because they are invading our ship. So
yeah, of course, naturally. Right. So why is
State
a
your
greeting?
purpose.
Is your custom to treat a greeting as a threat and an assault? he says, but meanwhile, while he says that, he's kind of repositioning himself, and the others on the other side are, and like they're kind of rocking the boat, a bit, and everyone's feeling a little unsteady. Do you treat?
Stop that.
Do you, are these pleasantries and banter? He says formalities. This is. He says, this is no assault. Perhaps it is not your custom to treat in polite terms with strangers.
Yes, dwarves are well known for their courteous ways.
We are just but wary of you suddenly climbing our boat, and I'll start stepping nearer to the center of the boat to make sure the two are in front of me.
Yeah.
And not like one in front, one behind.
Yeah, with a little space and them in front. Yeah, right. This is good. Yeah.
And stop rocking the boats. I'm gonna be seasick.
Yeah. We can't breathe underwater.
A singular disadvantage. How unfortunate for you. They say, and another says, our sympathies for your condition. Do
they stop?
Yeah. It's like a less. It's like less. But yeah, it kind of quiets a little bit. But they say, where are you headed? Where do you penetrate with this vessel? This vessel. Where are you going?
I look over at Celine to see if we should.
I mean, we're headed towards the Great Falls on a trip to honor my godmother Elspeth.
Oh, you head towards the Great. Excellent. Then you will come to the trading post, our trading post. He says, yes. You must stop at our trading post. You must exchange goods and services there.
We're kind of in a hurry, but yeah, do you have anything good?
Pragmatic dwarf.
Yes, we offer hospitality. He says we offer hospitality.
I feel like would just if I use your hospitality to just enter my room and start shaking things up.
Wait, what's that? Wait, what did you just say?
I feel like if I accept your hospitality and like get a room there or something, we'll just enter my room and start shaking my bed.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So they say yes, you should go and trade. Yes, they will allow you to pass through their territory as guests if you bring appropriate gifts, but this is the first time we are meeting.
I mean,
so there's a tax for passing. That's what you mean.
A tax? The other one says a tax. Are we tax collectors? He says, when you enter someone else's home, do you not bring a gift? He says, do you call it a tax? He says, do you call it a tax? And the other says, they have no manners. They are crude. Look at them. Yeah, so this is the kind of banter. And then the boat starts kind of rocking again. It's like really kind of rocking. So yeah, what do you guys do?
I will pretend to vomit near one of them.
Do I have anything from my normal world with me? Did any of that carry over? Is all that in my other
Yeah, it can. You can have anything you want from the normal world, from you that your guy would have had on him in the normal world. That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, not like a weapon, not like a gun or something. Let's be clear. Nothing game breaking.
Unless you roll just right. No,
Right,
and to
right.
remind anybody who may have just joined us, Campbell is playing an Opium Dreamer, which is a alt magic user class that is in the Through Ultan's Door thing. So he is from like the 1960s. Is that when you're from? Or are you from modern.
Yeah, 60 between like 62 and 65. I hadn't really zeroed in, but some early 60s.
Yeah, so he's a psychonaut who has traveled into Wishery via the application of different chemical substances, has the ability to do this, and he manifests in as a magic user in this world that we have traveled to from a normal fantasy world. It's very enjoyable, and I deeply love it.
He's come via peyote this time.
Right. Yeah. And so
I figured I might have something else on me and maybe just be like, okay, let's all calm down. We can all be friends here, and we're just trying to sort this out. So you know what? Here, sometimes we might come together and just be peaceful. So let's all try breathing in.
We have valuable rocks. Very valuable rocks. Very valuable rocks.
Frogs.
In our world,
Still rocking the boat.
it's a distinguished gift to receive rocks. So we have very valuable rocks for you. And it would be very impolite to not accept these rocks from visitors in your room because they're really valuable to them. So it would be impolite if you would not accept them as our gifts.
Are you just giving them the rocks you picked up earlier?
Yes.
Those are very special pet rocks.
Yes.
Leaders in my country would carry them.
They say, fresh meat would be better. They say, do you have any fresh meat?
Are you refusing our gift? How unpolite and uncivilized of you.
There's like a kind of.
I feel very hurt with this.
There's a kind of a pause. Yeah.
I was just gonna like whisper to Celine, like, why does everyone want to eat your godmother?
I mean, these guys asked for fresh meat, so I don't think they want to eat my godmother.
They say that they say, you know, oh, yeah, show us this rock.
Show the rocks. They're normal rocks.
They're
very valuable, and they.
It's like he's kind of like the guy who's closest to you is like leaning over and trying to get at it. What do you want to do? Do you want to just give it to him, or do you want to do something? He's kind of half pulled himself into the boat. Yeah, you give it to him, okay?
We offer them the rocks.
You know, and he's like saying to the other ones. He wasn't one of the ones who was talking before. He's
I'm pointing to someone and say, "Oh, this one is really special. You know, this one was given to me by my grandfather a long time ago."
He says, he says, we appreciate the sentimental item you have presented to us. I'm sure it has great personal meaning for you. But in addition, perhaps you would. There are many of you in the boat now. There's the sleeping one who is reclining now, and there are the five of you. Surely you could spare one of your group. They say there are almost too many for your vessel.
I can spare one of your group if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hold my sword tight.
Okay. Okay, why don't you roll a 2d6, or let's just roll a reaction roll here and subtract 2 from what you roll and tell me what you roll.
I rolled 2.
Okay, so Okay, tell me what everyone's going to do and then roll for initiative. Because it becomes clear that you say that they're all sizing you up, and then it becomes clear to everyone what's happening. So everybody tell me what you're going to do. Kelsey, what are you going to do? So you're
Well,
with 3 in the front and there are 2 by you. And so what do you want to do?
I guess I'm gonna get out my short bow to shoot him.
Okay, great. And what's Celine gonna do? Celine's in the middle of the boat.
Yeah, I am gonna look at all the dumb stuff I brought with me. I'm gonna like heft my my warhammer and like pick up my shield and kind of take a step towards the back where Ellie is by herself.
Okay. Or Charmaine's by the back, actually.
Oh.
By herself.
Yeah.
Or Charmaine is
Yeah.
by herself.
Yeah.
All my
Yeah, Mia. Right. Yeah. So, okay, what's Mia going to be doing?
I'll draw my sword,
Okay.
like seeing that Dal just threatened them.
Yeah. Okay. And what are you going to be doing, Tiogo?
Well, if I see any movements, I'm gonna
Yeah. Attack.
cure one of them with the sword. Yeah.
Okay. Assume that it's going to be, I'm asking you like, suppose things are getting rough here. So what's Saul going to do?
I'm towards the front, and you said that there's guys that
2.
are like.
Yeah, exactly.
hanging
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I'm going to get ready to stomp on some fingers with my very expertly tailored high street boots.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So, great. Let's roll initiative. Charmaine, why don't you roll a d6 and I'll roll a d6 and you tell me what you get. This is a very simple you go, they go group initiative
Okay.
system. What did you roll?
I got 4.
Okay, you guys, I rolled a 1. So you guys got it. So, okay. So first come missile weapons. So Kelsey, go ahead. No one is yet engaged in combat, so you kind of have a clear shot. You could get at either the 2 on the back or the 2 right by you. You're at close range, so you can add 1 to your roll in addition. Yeah.
Okay. Probably the one's closer to me. Well, that's a natural 2.
Okay. So
Plus 1.
Right. So the boat is rocking, so the shot doesn't go off. Okay. Yeah. I don't think anyone was going to cast a spell. So next would come, movement. So you get where you want to be, Celine, and then now you guys can attack. They are attacking you. So I want to be clear.
Okay.
It's not like
we're not having to second guess. They're making the
yeah.
yes.
They're making a move, and you got the drop on them.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Then yeah,
So-
I'm gonna move over and hit one of them with my warhammer.
Okay, go for it.
I rolled a 15.
That should hit. Yep,
Okay.
definitely hits. Go for it. Roll your damage.
Which is now my d6. I'll roll this d6.
Okay. Ooh, wow. Look at that.
My gelatinous cube d6 from
Amazing.
Severed Books. That's a 4.
Okay, great. All right. Okay. So, all right. Charmaine, why don't you go?
I
What
will
does
also
Mia do?
I'll swing
Okay.
at the same one. I'll swing at the same one with my
Okay.
a total of 14.
Okay, you hit.
Oh, okay. Oh, I rolled an 8. My
Wow.
sword is a +1 sword. Does that
Yeah, it's a
Nice.
+1 to hit, so and +1 to damage.
damage as well? Okay.
So yeah, you kill you. The hammer hits it. It's like it's knocked in or whatever. I mean, you can describe how you kill it. How do you kill it?
So after Celine smashes it with the hammer, I then just cut it upwards in half with my
Okay.
sword.
Okay,
then- Look at the second one.
great. All right. Okay. So now, all right. Diogo, go ahead.
I'll hit one nearest to me, and if I can step back a little bit to kind of protect Kelsey's character because she's
Yeah,
a rogue,
I mean, your position kind of between
Oh yeah,
you and it, but okay, yeah, you can do that. You can
yeah.
get
Try
yourself
to close by
swiveled that way.
so they don't
Yeah.
gauge.
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead, roll the attack.
4.
Okay.
No.
Okay, and you stomp on the hands. I'm going to say that takes one. Let's say there's some stomping and there's a bit of a scrum. And let's say you push one off the boat, and so it's not going to get to do its thing right now. Okay, so that's the effect of that. So, okay. So first, it's their turn to go. I'm going to roll a morale check because you just killed one. So generally, you would in OSE you would roll, or in a lot of old school games, you would roll at first death or perhaps even first damage, but first death. Then when half are killed, or of course if something dramatic happens at any point that fictionally makes sense. So I am rolling it now. I rolled a 4 for the first one and a 2 for the second one. So no, they're still in it. But they are. Okay, so here's what they do. There's one that's undamaged on each side, and in each case they do the same thing, which is they kind of heave and then each vomits into the ship. So at either side, this kind of spray of like toxic chum that comes out of their kind of vaguely frog-like mouths. And so
See, Diogo, this is why your fake vomit move didn't work on them. Like they just took it as an attack.
like that's such a so weak. Yeah. So I'm going to say, because Diogo interposed himself, that Ellie is not subject to this, but the other 4 of you can make a save versus breath weapon for half damage from this. So roll a d20. It's not a huge amount of damage, but
13.
Woohoo!
Yes, 17 passed.
great. So wait, who made it?
I made it.
I made it.
Okay. All right. So let's say in the prow, those of you who are the 2 who are up front who are getting it, and you both made it, right? So you each take. Oh no, Tony's in the back.
I'm in the back.
And
Yeah.
Saul's in the front.
Yes, Paul's in the front. Yeah.
Okay, so Saul takes 4 points of damage, and you take 8 points and Drar takes 8 points of damage.
Wow.
Okay, as it burns really badly into you. In the back, the 2 of you, okay, Tony, Celine takes 2 points of damage and Mia takes 4 points of damage. Okay, as it burns through. And, the save against breath weapon is like kind of getting out of the way or shielding yourself or ducking down or whatever so that it only sort of gets on you. But it's this horrible caustic, and it smells. It's the worst possible smell. So, okay, we're going to have a new round. So everybody tell me what you're going to be doing this round. There's one dead. There's one that got kind of pushed back in the water. They're the 2 that just heaved. That's what you know about. So what's everybody going to do? Yeah, go ahead. What's Celine going to do?
I'm planning on trying to do what we did to the first one to this one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to hit it in.
Okay, great. So we got at least 2 melee attacks. Diogo, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to decapitate this guy.
Okay, Drar is doing the same. What's Ellie gonna do now? Now I guess that the 2 that attacked are not yet in melee, so you actually still could shoot them with the bow without hitting your compatriots.
Okay.
So if you want to.
Yep.
Okay, and so what's Soul gonna do?
Yeah, Soul is a little irked because he doesn't like acid, especially on his fine paisley coat.
Yeah.
So,
oh God, it's so ruined. So angry.
know how hard it is to find this stuff. So I think he's just gonna go out and try a magic missile.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay, why not? So now, right. So this is a system also where we re-roll initiative each round.
Okay.
So yeah, Campbell, why don't you roll initiative?
All right.
What'd you roll? 1? Okay. So they go first this time.
Campbell's not allowed to make community rolls anymore.
Okay, you know,
I should only roll for myself.
It's fine.
yeah, but you know, in a way, you're kind of saved. I mean, you don't get any more chum sprays. The 2 of them have already done what they can do with that, and they climb in the boat and like attack. I mean, it's like a awful kind of like brutal scrum because they're just like pressing in, and it's a small boat and it's like rocking and unstable. And the third, you know, also is climbing into the boat. You know, and so they kind of get the drop on you, and so I'm going to just do some attacks. The fighting people are engaging primarily, I assume. So let's certainly in the back. That's the situation. I'll roll randomly. 1 through 3 is Mia. Okay, it's Mia. 1 attacks you with claws. What's your armor class? It's high, right?
It's 17. Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Does not hit. Close, but doesn't hit. Okay. And you killed 1 last round, so there's only 1 back where you are. So there are 2 up at the other side. Okay. So they pop up. 1 definitely will attack the dwarf who's trying to be a kind of front line. What's your armor class? You have magical plate mail. If they don't hit, it's the same.
19, yeah.
They also
19.
they rolled a 14 each, which is pretty good, but not quite, almost good enough, but not quite. It rakes across your armor, but doesn't. The enchantment holds. You knew it would. These scum. It's not sufficient. Okay, but the other one, I mean, I don't think you know, it's kind of a fracas, and I am going to say they claw it randomly. Let's say 1 through 3, it'll be Ellie, and 4 to 6. Saul, it's Ellie. Okay,
even
what's Ellie?
me trying to get between them and her because she's
right. You said you were between them and her, and they rolled her. Fair.
Okay.
That's fair. He attacks you. It also is ineffectual. They're bearing down on you. I mean, I would imagine, you know, like the situation is, you know, practically that you've fallen back in this narrow rocking space, and they're like 2 right up on you, while the others are there. So, okay, you guys get to go. So missile weapons, but you don't have a target. Oh, wait, BX doesn't have a shooting into melee. This old school essentials just lets you shoot into melee.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Go for it. Go ahead. I mean, it's totally fictionally makes sense. You're right there. Shoot an arrow, add 1 additional to your roll. Go ahead.
So that is a dirty 20.
Ooh, great. Roll your damage.
That is 2.
Okay, great. So you stick 1 with an arrow. That's good. Okay, up front, 1's got an arrow in it. Next would be your spell. So go ahead. You go ahead, roll your damage. Magic missile always hits. Tell us what your magic missile looks like.
My magic missile looks. My magic missile actually looks a little bit like the kind of like takes a fiery form of like a Saturn rocket, with like the afterburner just kind of like coming out this like orange in the front, but like blue high-powered flame in the back, and it's going right towards one of the frog people that jumped on the dwarf. And so I don't need to roll to hit for that.
It's just, I think it's just a D6 plus 1.
Yeah, D6 plus 1 for damage.
Right.
Yes, 6 points damage.
Okay. All right. So you know, this one, so already wounded 1, you burn up with the comet, and there's like a kind of horrible gurgling. It's blasted off the ship. So good for you. All right, everybody else, go roll your melee attacks.
I rolled a
Let's see.
19.
Great, roll your damage. You guys are. This is a bloodbath.
4.
Okay.
Two
Nine-
damage.
19 and 8 points of damage.
My God.
Yeah.
Okay.
15
So
points of damage.
okay. All right. So all right. So you have done. You've grievously wounded the two that are remaining.
Here's your flesh meat.
Yeah. They're definitely going to disengage and drop into the water. If you want to try to hit them before they leave, we can roll initiative once more and see if you can get them
Oh, yeah.
on the
For
way
sure.
out. Actually, they're in melee with you, so you get to attack them if they disengage. So you can roll attacks as they dive off the boat. Okay.
19 again and 5 now.
Okay, you kill that one.
I rolled a 17 and a 4.
Okay, yeah. So through various agencies, they are slaughtered. The boat is full of horrible. There's blood, and there's still this residue of this horrific chum in the boat, and it's kind of burned into the wood. And I mean, the whole thing is a gory, but it's awful, just awful, so terrible. But that's it.
We should definitely keep some of this dead frog because everybody keeps on wanting to eat.
Yeah.
Like this is absolutely currency. So we'll shift all the bodies. Like, I mean, there's already a dead body in the middle of the boat.
We loot the bodies first, right? What are they carrying? What do they have?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's classical gaming.
Yeah. They're wearing some they're wearing some jewelry. It's not. I don't want you to get your hopes up in terms of the valuableness of it. It's more like kind of trinkets, and if anything, it looks like kind of sewer stained stuff that's sort of dredged up. But yeah, they are collectively wearing a number of these things. They seem to be festooning themselves with it.
Well,
And
any
so there is
weapons
some
or
stuff.
anything?
They are not carrying any weapons. No, they were attacking you with these claws on their webbed hands. You can see now that they've been on the boat, you can see that they have these like sacks that hang on either side, like that have their like chum fluid in it. So that's
what
like
I was saying. I was wondering if you could get the.
There are these sacks. They're like flesh sacks on either side of their bloated, toad-like bodies.
You want to harvest some chum sacks?
I mean, like the dwarf and I are thinking on the same levels. I have 3 glass vials.
Yeah.
Great. Can I test to see if the chum would eat through the glass?
Sure.
There's some chum on the floor, probably, so you can test with that, right?
Yeah, let's say no. I mean, I feel like what is a wizard's glass vial for, but to catch caustic and strange substances in it. So, I mean, I feel like no. Yeah.
That's absolutely always the right answer. Nothing destroys glass. It's
so. I look at the dwarf. Sorry, Diojo. What's your name? What's your character's name?
Drar.
Drar.
Drar. So Drar.
Yeah.
So Drar. I toss one of the bottles to him because I see what I see where he's thinking. I'm like, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
all right. Well, I feel like a theme is emerging. This is far from the only theme that could emerge, believe me, but I feel like we're about to up the ante on this in a second. You'll see why. But let me ask, do you want to poke around here and hazard another encounter check, or do you want to go straight to the next location?
Let's go to the next location just from a time standpoint.
Yes, I know. I'm aware of the time.
Yeah,
also.
I think that's the right call.
Yeah. So here's what happens. So I mean, what I do feel like a theme is emerging. It's not the one it's not, as I say, far from the only one that could have emerged. But here we are, the magic of the dice and the choices that are made. So you proceed further down the sewer river, and soon you hear like the droning of insects, and the light from your lantern illuminates a kind of slick of chum that's run on the sewer floor, like it's just like it's the frothy and red and kind of runs along the surface of the sewer river here. And you see there are flies everywhere, these huge kind of jeweled looking flies, sparkling green, their wings beating, and some kind of things that look like moths flapping around. And you can see there are these 3 grotesque looking faces that are carved into the side of the sewer wall here. They look like this, roughly. And they're carved in the stone, and there are these narrow steps leading up. Judging from your map, you should be at the location called the catacombs of the Fleisch Guild, and there are, you think, bobbing in the water, there are like viscera and organs, and you're not sure what. Seems like clustered around these faces that have these open mouths, and there is, carved of stone. It's kind of grotesque. You can see guttering red torchlight up these steps. So there's definitely, and there are 2 little landing spaces. I mean, they're not piers, but they're like little juts of stone that come out in front of each of the sets of stairs, and there's just this kind of droning of insects here. So yeah, there's this place.
It's probably a good place to rest, I think.
Yeah, let's draw some fresh water into the boat to clean things out. Is there a place to put into dock?
Yeah, you could easily pull up here if you want. It's
Really?
no problem. You could get right up to those stone.
I don't
things
think they have fresh meat here.
No, but they may want fresh meat here.
This is neither kosher nor halal.
It's true. It's true. But ironically,
If you're out there
in the
watching,
name of
if you're out there
skill.
watching live right now, tell us in the chat whether you think we should stop and check out the Fleisch Guild, or whether you think we should keep on going to the next stop. We'll give you guys a couple seconds to do that while we talk about it amongst ourselves as players.
Do we see the lights? Do we see any movement, like people passing through lights?
No,
there?
you don't see any movement. You do see this kind of red. I mean, the torchlight is very red, and it's kind of flickering at the top of the stairs, but you don't see any shadows pass or anything.
Do we hear drums?
No, nothing. You don't hear anything if you listen.
We were promised a very quality trading post further up ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the people we
I was
slaughtered.
thinking it would be like giant flies, and I would get the frog corpses and just pretend there's frogs there, so the flies would go away. But no.
Yeah.
The chat's way in is that Manahin already has issues too, so naturally they want us to move on.
Push on. Yes.
Pope's plot says keep going, Lodge, keep going. Manahin says, but I also want you to poke around in there. So, yeah, I mean, if we're not feeling it, I mean, if we all kind of float through this gore and decide this isn't a place we want to stop, we can push on to the next location.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very inviting, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably this, I'm guessing this next location will be the last thing we're probably going to get through. But here's a question. Do you want to poke around once more in between and see? There's a lot of stuff, and you could get pulled into
Gotta poke
something else
around.
too. So okay, so let's go ahead. Why doesn't someone roll the search roll, and then we'll roll.
Who besides Campbell is going to
Not me.
roll the community roll?
Yeah.
I can do a roll. I can
All right,
do
go
a roll.
ahead.
Sure, go for a roll. Roll a six-sided die. A six? Okay. Okay, now let's roll 2 encounter checks. So Diogo, go ahead, roll 1.
5.
Okay, and Kelsey, go ahead, roll 1.
5.
Okay, so you're not turning up anything yet. Do you want to push it and do another one, or do you want to move on?
I'll poke around a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
That did not land in my bowl. I rolled a 2.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, roll a d6.
I rolled a 6.
Generous.
Oh, that's interesting. 6, hey?
We found
Okay.
some fresh meat finally.
We found
No,
some
no,
It's just a
hardly.
giant slab of beef. There's
Hardly.
like 4 cows. That's it.
No, we're
Like,
departing from that theme, and now we travel to another theme.
I do love that those frogs were basically like the most aggressive direct sales phone callers ever. They're
Yes, that is absolutely what was
that
going on.
feel was phenomenal.
Yeah, no, that's totally their vibe. That is, you have it.
It was so good.
Okay.
They were very rude, refusing our rocks.
Okay. So a glint underwater is a kind of subtle hint of some murky submerged tunnel with a green glow emanating from the other side. And it looks like, there's this kind of lustrous green light coming from under the water here. You think it's a really short jog through the water. Now, you haven't tested how deep it is or anything, but you're not sure what's on the other side there. It's like there's maybe like an inch of clearance on the tunnel there, but there's just the kind of water, but there's some kind of green light and a tunnel. And your impression is, looking at it, it's a kind of a short little jog underwater to get into what is on the other side of this thing.
The one time I didn't bring a 10-foot pole into the dungeon with me.
Yeah. I was 2 gold short of buying a pole.
I have some rope. If someone wants to.
Yeah, you want to tie it to a rock? It's a tried and true method.
Oh, we could
grappling
totally
rope
depth
too.
check.
I have a grappling hook, and so we can throw and see how
Yeah.
it will sink. Yeah.
Yeah, let's depth check.
Yeah.
We can try to grab the shiny thing with the grappling hook. too.
No, you don't think it's a shining thing. There's some kind of spectral green glow, coming from in there. It may open up into a bigger space. The rock is it's about 15 feet deep. The water here. It's a fair ways down.
So more than our 10-foot pole would have hit anyways.
Right.
I mean, I'll dumbly take off my chainmail because otherwise it doesn't seem like it's a
That's right. That's
smart
correct.
move.
Yes, think.
And then swim over to the I'll try to take a swim.
Okay. Okay, you can do that. It's no problem. I'm just gonna roll for something here.
Go ahead and tell me your
3 and
save
6
versus
chance.
death.
No, okay, it's good. So you swim under, you dip under this space, and it's not a very long swim down the tunnel. Okay, you have to take your breath, and you're afraid to go like too far because if it was too far, could you get back? But just when you're like starting to get just slightly nervous in the panic of the moment, it's clear that you're coming through. So it's not a very far away. And you move into a space. There are numerous mounds of detritus rising up from the water. Their bases are emerging from this kind of trash-strewn lake that's in this space. It's pretty big. There are a bunch of these mounds, high ceiling. Okay, so there are, in a picture, mountains of kind of sewer like trash pulled up from the sewer, all different things, ruined dressers and rotting dolls and all kinds of things piled up into these huge mounds, kind of coming up out of like a kind of lake of this sewer here. You do see the occasional glint of alluring things in there, a breastplate here, a silvery gravy vessel there, and a few intriguing items, like a half-buried globe, a sealed tube, and so on. So it looks like there's like a lot of stuff in this kind of strange big chamber where all this stuff is somehow piled up. There are multiple such mounds. I don't know, like 4 or something, huge mounds here in like what's really a pretty big chamber, a very high ceiling brickwork kind of chamber here. So yeah, what do you want to do?
I want to figure out like the 4 most interesting looking things that are near to each other that I can find and shove them in my sack and then swim back under.
Okay, so I'll give you a mechanic. I'll tell you what. You will get something for each turn. Each turn, each person spends searching.
Okay.
They'll get something.
We tied me off before I came, so I'll like tug on the rope to let people know.
Okay, so he's saying people can come through. So tell me who's going through.
I will stay on the boat in my plate armor, holding the other end of the rope.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna stay on the boat also with a levitate spell handy. Because my paranoia level is pretty high right now.
Okay. Who else is going into the room?
Kelsey, come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Right on.
I would do, but I have plate armor.
Right, I was like, we got all these plate wearers, and a mage who might die.
I'm a dwarf, so 15 feet deep. It's double deeper than for a human. So.
But you can put another rope that's connected to Ellie as she goes in. There you go.
Okay.
Sweet.
Okay, so why don't you both roll a 20-sided die and tell me what you get on that? That's the first thing.
I got an 8.
I got an 11.
Okay. All right. So you both find remarkable objects. Maybe the most remarkable thing that Ellie finds is an incredible helm. I mean, it's dented, but it looks like it's, it's got a kind of a platinum sort of mask on the face, like a kind of angry warrior's face, and it looks quite valuable, and Sleens would be more valuable still. Let's say it's a scepter that has like a lion's head on the bottom, and it's got like some kind of polished quartz top, and it's maybe inlaid with small gems and so on. And so that's feeling pretty good. Okay, I mean, so but I rolled a 1, so something happens. Okay, so while they're in there, you 2 are out there, and you 3 are out there, and you're sitting in the boat waiting nervously for them to come back as they're pulling these valuable items out of these trash piles. When there's a big movement in the waters, very big movement in the waters. And
I knew it.
a head rears up out of the water. And let me screen share a visual here of the head that rears up.
It's not going to be good.
Oh, wait, I have to pull it up. Wait 1 second. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. Okay, it's this huge catfish head, enormous, that rises up out of the waters, and it's got this kind of, you know, it's got this crazy thing on its head like a crown. Regally, it rises up. You know, it's huge. I mean, it's enormous. That, you know, head just comes out of the water, and you can see there's like a coiling body, like the water is like, you know, rippling the boat, and this is rocking, and this kind of head. The tunnels are all pretty high, and the, you know, head kind of rears over, and, you know, the water pours down. You can see its belly of this rearing kind of catfish headed serpentine thing is encrusted with like sewer trash, like trash, detritus. You know, it's the underbelly. It's like encrusted with it. And there may be a couple of spots where you can see like the naked belly here or there, but it's, you know, all the candlestick, you know, this and that, and so on, all along. And it kind of rears up, and it, you know, and yeah, and it's and there's a voice, and it says to you, what are you, you know, it booms out. It sounds like a female voice, roughly, vaguely, but it booms out, regal, the voice, and it says, what are you doing here what are you doing here before my home? I do not remember inviting you to visit. Who are you? The voice booms out of this catfish head.
That's so inside the hole they enter, right? We are not seeing anything.
No, they're in there. They're gonna come very soon, but you don't know that really. Yeah.
Oh, we just happened to stop by on our ways to Great Falls, and now we will be on our way just momentarily. Terribly sorry. Would you like some frog meat?
You know, it kind of rears back and it says, those parasites, they infest our waters. You know, Kephia, the prophetess of the Muddles waters, does not approve. You know, there's a kind of wrinkling of the nose. Is this really, you just stopped right here. There's, and this, you know, the head is kind of like leaning around this way, and that there's no,
Yes, and we have helped you get rid of this pest that has been infecting your waters, and as you see these 3 or 4 bodies, we have helped you out. We mean no harm and wish for safe passage once our companions are back.
We even purified them with fire.
I grab another item out of the trash heap.
Yeah. Go for it. Go ahead. Roll a d20, each of you. Basically, yeah. But while that's going on, she says to you, your other back from where?
They are taking a swim in these waters that you live in.
And a swim. And there's that says, swim. Why are they swimming?
We fear
They
that
need
there
to
are
freshen
more
up.
pests. We fear there are more of the pests, and we're trying to be rid of them. While us heavier folk stay on board.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So this seems like a tense moment to me.
Yes.
For sure. So, Charmaine, why don't you roll a reaction roll? You can add your charisma bonus, but so the higher it is, the better. The lower, the worse.
Yep. Is that 2d6 or 1d6?
Yeah, 2d6.
All right. My charisma's a 8, so that's a -1.
Okay, great. Perfect. I feel like that fits with like having mentioned that your friends were swimming. I feel like that's perfect. It all fits, but the vision is it's all coming together.
Oh,
What's that? What'd you roll?
6 total. So
6
7
total.
-1.
not horrible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm going to say, would you like to relax with us as our friends take a sip, take their dip? And I'm gonna pull out a cigarette case that's filled with things that are not cigarettes.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So this catfish head says to you, this being, this huge, alarming being, says to you, says to you, says to you, this bores me.
This makes
Amuse me. You say, do something amusing. This is tiresome. Your presence is wearying.
I'm gonna grab the lantern and pull out one of the not cigarettes and light it and then puff rings right into her face and breathe.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. The smell is enchanting. What is this substance?
To be honest, I'm not sure if this is cannabis or peyote, but we're gonna find out very soon. Here.
Okay. So it takes more puffs, and that head is like kind of coming up, and it's alarmingly coming close to you and kind of pressing into the boat and like the whole thing, and it's there, and it says, you know, and like after like a little while of being in there, it kind of pulls back and it says, this is amusing.
Yeah, I know. We're underground.
Kefaya is amused by this. She says, surely you have come seeking a prophecy or a wish from surely, tell me, be honest. Surely you have come hoping against hope for a prophecy or wish.
You know where we can get those?
She says, of course. You know, there's like a laugh, kind of perhaps mildly I mean, this is a huge bulk, and I don't think, she's overwhelmed by the substance, but there is like a kind of a bit of a laugh. Of course, there's a rumbling, and it says, what is it? Do you wish a prophecy? You have amused me. Do you wish a prophecy, or would you ask, or do you have a prayer and entreaty?
I'm gonna look to the other folks who are on the boat. I mean, do you have anything?
Well, I suppose if we had a wish you don't remember us coming by. And I'm gonna do it like a double tug on the rope to like tell
Yeah.
now that we probably should get going soon.
Okay. So, okay, all right, that's interesting. You gotta forget that you ever saw us in this. You know, maybe the catfish head laughs, and it says, your dreams are small, but your wish is granted. And okay, so now let's see, you guys are coming out, right?
Well, so we grabbed a second item. I could committed to 4, but if we feel the tug, I think I could stop at 3. So
Okay.
So I rolled an 18 on the last roll we made. I don't know what Kelsey rolled.
Okay. Yeah.
I rolled a 14.
Okay. All right. You have some rich treasures with you. So but now how are you going to make your exit? So you don't know about all this. You swim up. I guess how would you pop up probably on the far side from this thing of the boat.
Yeah, my plan was actually to tie the sack off onto the rope. That way I didn't have to worry about weight. That way as we're just kind of pulling our way back.
That makes sense. Yeah, I hear that. Okay, so you guys pop out of the water. Okay. And you see this alarming thing. You see this crazy thing in front of you rearing up, and it says, they're back, and it says, I will forget I ever saw you, and
no way.
And at that it is diving under the water. What do you guys do? It's just starting. It says that you guys just are getting into the boat. What do you want to do?
What was that?
We need to get out of here.
Okay.
And I'm on the way.
Okay. So you manage to pull, it just whisks the whole river rocks. The boat is kind of going crazy. It goes under to its lair. It doesn't seem to notice the rope as it snakes by. And you're able, and the whole thing is rocking, and you're able to pull it back, and so there are two ways we could do this right now. I think this is a fine stopping point if we want to stop.
Sure.
I think this makes a good stopping point. So you haven't seen Elspeth all the way to take the plunge at the Great Falls, but you did just pull some treasure out of the lair of Kafaya.
Well, with the wave
sewer worm,
that's
the great sewer worm.
Yeah, and I feel like that was probably the best wish that could possibly have gotten made for this.
Yeah, I agree.
It was such a good wish.
Yeah, my cigarette
maybe
box is kind of light now.
Yeah, I know we don't necessarily know the setting like super well, but maybe we do just a couple vignettes where each one of us can kind of work with Ben to kind of figure out what our character sees or does that is especially fun for them as they go through the sewer, which maybe gives Ben an opportunity to showcase a couple things.
Beautiful.
So maybe we talk about what everybody would kind of want the most to maybe have encountered, and Ben can maybe figure out a place where they would have, and we can do just little scenes for that.
Sure.
So Kelsey and I just had a big adventure. Let's start with Diogo. So Diogo, what would your character maybe love to have explored or have happened down here? What type of thing would they have loved to have gotten into an epic fight, stopped and seen someone, found some sort of amazing treasure? What would have been their kind of
I would like
dream?
to find some like big ruby or like a big gem or something.
Yeah. I mean, you said that, and I couldn't, in a way, believe it, because it's true that that the stream watcher steered you away from in the catacombs of the Fleisch Guild, there is something called the Heart of heart of Haldakar, which is a giant ruby, pulsating ruby. So perhaps on
that's
another
perfect. Yeah.
trip to the Dreamlands, I mean, that's quite a thing to get. Would be no easy task to extricate that thing, but that would be quite something, I think.
So maybe
Maybe
on
have-
this trip we hear like a rumor, like your character hears a
hear
rumor.
about it. Yeah.
The trip
Yeah,
back.
for sure. Perhaps for your bantering with the lurid toads at their dam. Right. Perhaps you mention this and hear about it. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay.
Campbell, what's something your character would have loved to have seen or done or experienced down here?
I kind of did what I just now with the
hotboxing a giant catfish monster was your
yeah, hotboxing the giant catfish monster.
Pretty ideal for you.
A giant fight. But I think I would like to. I think Thol would have liked to have met other magicians in this realm.
Yeah.
And to try and learn something from them, because he is very knowledge hungry, but he's not particularly. He's foolhardy, but not in like let's go into this deep dark hole and poke around kind of thing. But one others.
So here's a vignette. At the end of the Sewer River, there's a great falls, and there's a harbor, but the people there are eager at the harbor. They're mercenaries, the sons and daughters of the Vigilant Watcher, who are like an ancient clan of sewer. They're like sewer mercenaries, and they guard this harbor for the last remaining members of the hanging the merchants at these hanging pagodas. There's underneath Zion, there's a jungle that hangs upside down, downwards, and it's actually a 3-dimensional hex crawl through an inverted jungle of the Dreamlands down there. That's what the sewer falls down into that. And the most trippy wizard I can think of all is, this doesn't yet appear in issue 3, but the most trippy wizard of all there, it would be is an NPC who would have, if you stop at the Hanging Merchants, they would have reached out to you with an offer, because they're always looking for adventures in their service. And in fact, their name is Zalvarex, and they are, get this, they are dreamers who come from the dreamlands of the Dreamlands. They are a Phantomarian who is, cursed to abide in a moving house, and that moves through the jungle. And so perhaps you had dealings later with Zalvarex, the witch Zalvarex. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Charmaine, how about you? What's something that Mia would have liked to have potentially experienced down in the...
Yeah, after seeing Kafia and with the image still on as well, I mean, should imagine one of those fins would make for a beautiful shield.
Yeah.
And maybe in the future she'll come back with more water-friendly armor. And
the slaying of Kafia. Yeah. Right. Wow, that's a bold one. I like it. Yeah, perhaps you allied yourself along the way, although there would be many snares in this, but with her rival, the Crane May, who is this kind of melancholy fey sewer witch, of a spirit of the air who was condemned to reside in the sewers. And so perhaps you allied yourself with them, and were able to overcome Kafia. It would require a real special, a very well-planned operation, but I like it. Okay. Kelsey, what about you?
Honestly, a wish from a sewer catfish would have been top of the list.
Yeah,
and
what would your wish have been? What would you have...
Ellie finds out that that's what you wish for, she is furious. Probably just like a weird dream library.
Yeah. So let me tell you about her wishes. so you know. Her wishes are wishes of the sewers. So they're always, they are in fact wishes, but they do come true. But they're always in some ruined and broken way. So, you know, the library would probably be full of like moldering and ruined books, barely, you know, barely legible, more infuriating than, you know, like that. I mean, that's the kind of wishes. I mean, in a way, you guys asked for the best possible wish, because it was like, oh, I'm not even going to give you a wish. I'll just forget I ever saw you. It was like kind of perfect. But no, but they are, I mean, no, but it is real. So you would have something there, but it would have that kind of sewer quality to it always. You would never be able to get that off of it, you know. It would never quite be what you wanted. Always a disappointment. Yeah. Tony.
You know, I think initially, you know, his Sleen's major initial wish would kind of be to just make sure that this journey is completed. But I think, you know, during the course of the rest of these adventures, what probably we would see awaken in him was to be a worthy predecessor to his godmother, to be someone who travels the wishery, and who is able to explore the depths of the Dreamland in honor of his god, but also in honor of his godmother. And so I think maybe the vignette we see of him is kind of zooming back out on his friends' vignettes and seeing him assisting them or traveling with them in those different moments. And I think that's probably where he would end up wanting. So
maybe you could find more memories from her. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe you could find, I mean, so the key ingredient for concocting the potion that got you there is this residue, this slime of a dream pudding, an oneric pudding. And so, you know, perhaps you could have uncovered that secret and learned she probably has the recipe at her house. Right. So probably if perhaps if that's knowledge you could have come by, and then there'd be an easy way without even a door to come back to all the places you've visited. Yeah. So good.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, no, I love it. Thank you, Ben, so much for running us through it. We do a thing on all of our streams. It's called Reaction Roll. Reaction Roll is a live stream within a live stream. It's when we sit down with the creator of a game or a module or a tool that we just use to play, and that we just give them our thoughts about it. We talk about it. Today we are talking about Through Ultan's Door, issue number 3, though I'm think we're going to talk about Through Ultan's Door as a concept in general. It's created by Ben Laurence, and we just played through it using OSE, Old School Essentials by Necrotic Gnome, but it could be used in any number of retro clones or fantasy settings. And I am super excited to hear what our party thought about their experience going through the sewers of Dreamland. My name is Tony Vicinda. You can find me at Tony Vicinda across all social media platforms. Plus One is a brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. You can find everything we do at Plus One XP online, or go to plus1xp.com to check out anything that we do. But we're not here to talk about us. We're here to talk about Ben's new game. I'm going to introduce you to all of our players again in just 1 second. But Ben, tell people a little bit about Through Ultan's Door. This is the 3rd in the issue, but tell us about the project as a whole, and then your upcoming Kickstarter a little bit also.
Sure. The project grows out of a campaign I've been running. There are currently 2 groups, but I've been running it for almost 5 years. The premise is very simple. It's that in kind of D&D land, I'm running it originally in the Judges Guild Wilderlands, kind of a little corner of that I made for myself, but there's a kind of door that's opened under the printmaker's stair that leads to this Dreamlands. And it's happened before in the past, but not for a long time. And so, you know, the premise is like kind of penetrating and trying to figure out what the heck is going on in this, you know, strange world, otherworldly kind of space of Wishery, my version of the Dreamlands. And kind of each issue of the zine takes you sort of further and further through the door. So, you know, the first issue goes through the door into the ruins of the Inquisitor's Theater. And the second issue kind of jumped down to that grotesque catacombs of the Flesh Guild. That's why the people told you to pass by. And this issue, the third issue, opens it up into a kind of point crawl on the Sewer River that connects that to a host of other locations. I mean, the Lair of Kafia was one, but the Sanitarium of the Benefactors you left was another, and the Churning Gate that you decided not to go to was another, and beyond it is the Dam of the Lurid Toads and the harbor, and some other places as well. And so it turns it into a kind of open world, starts to open it up. There are, you know, in later issues will go further. Actually, the Ruins of the Inquisitor Theater opens up onto another kind of Cyclopean space that then connects to a whole bunch of other spots. And that's all just the Undercity. I mean, eventually there's this ill hanging jungle and the city above. And, you know, I'm excited to share all of this material eventually. And hopefully it all has this kind of vibe that's sort of called from Lord Dunsany, his Dreamer's Tales especially, him most of all, but also H.P. Lovecraft, obviously. There are his kind of Dreamer's Tales, William Hope Hodgson, also some early game influences like from M.A.R. Barker's Empire of the Petal Throne and other things. But it, you know, so anyway, that's basically what it is, where it's going. And yes, I have a Kickstarter that begins on Monday. There are 3 zines that I'm doing. Issue 3 is a double issue. So what you were playing in is basically 2 zines that do that. The Potion of Penumbral Transmigration is in there. Every piece that you saw is in there. And there's a huge encounter table and the secret locations and capsule write-ups on the other locations and so on. But there's also an adventure written by my friend Gus, who did that map that you saw of the sewer. He wrote an adventure which involves another hidden location, expands it into a full adventure. It's the wreck of the Verdant Purveyor. It's a sewer base, and it kind of reaches all the way up to the city of Zion, the law courts of Zion above, but also this kind of the regulators of the Black Hand in this ruined vessel it was originally carrying perfumes, a perfumier sort of vessel that was wrecked in the sewers and was pulled into a side channel and is now their kind of base of operations. So yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Just a little taste.
Yeah,
I love it. You know, like I said, my first time hearing about it was actually people talking about the design you did. I'll have some thoughts about it that I'll share in just one second, but I'd love to hear from just the other players what they start. Let's start with Charmaine. Charmaine, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online, and then what your thoughts were about the setting of Through Ultan's Door.
All right, so I'm Charmaine. I'm based in Australia. I'm part of the Hobbled Goblin podcast, and you can listen to it on any podcast streaming site. It's an actual play of the Savage Tide adventure path, but set in the world of Galarian, and we're playing it in Pathfinder 1st edition. With this Ultan's Door, what I really, really love is all the psychedelic colors and everything. It felt very Alice in Wonderland, but in like a bog, sort of swamp sewer sort of thing. And I really like the just sort of like the bizarre characters, like when we were at the Inquisitor's Theater with their dog and their pale looks of their black mouths and stuff. I'm so glad we didn't fight them, but my goodness, that was I really like it. The difference between the psychedelic colors and yet their plain looks.
Yeah.
That was really exciting.
They were excited when you gave them the pigments because they were going to go put it on. They have a kind of shrine to they worship the kind of pariah archon, Golomex, under an aspect of the pickled prince. It's like a scarecrow-like figure that they build up of all different things. And so the idea of festooning it with these colors is like amazing. I mean, as soon as you were like sharing that, they were like, oh my God, this is the stuff. This is like, you know, amazing. We can paint it in all these colors. And so now I like to imagine it like all these scintillating colors in there. So yeah.
Charmaine, did you have any questions for Ben?
Questions. Ooh, I don't know, but I'm definitely going to have to back the Kickstarter.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Let's cut over to Kelsey real quick. Kelsey, tell people who you are, where you're from, and then what your thoughts were about playing through Ultan's Door.
Yes, I'm Kelsey. I am DM on it's called An Infinity of Wishes. It is a D&D 5e podcast. And just a little background, one of the characters is a warlock whose patron is Mother Dream. So this is extremely my shit. And honestly, like the idea of a dream sewer is both enthralling and disgusting and just so many wild new ways. I absolutely love it. And I think, you know, the way using it with this system, just the tension is always there. And, you know, all of the possible encounters are like new and weird, but still somehow cohesive. So yeah, I just think it worked really well. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Any questions for Ben?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome. Let's go over to Diogo. Diogo, tell people who you are, where they can find you online, what your thoughts were about Through Ultan's Door 3, and if you have any questions for Ben, go ahead and shoot them.
Hi, I'm Diogo Nogueira. I'm from Brazil. I'm a game designer, illustrator, and graphic designer. I publish games through Old School Publishing, and you can find me at Twitter at Diogo_Oldschool, or Instagram or Facebook, and on the website oldschool/publishing.com. And well, I had a great time. I really loved interacting with the frog merchants, and trying to negotiate with them. I really like negotiate with monsters we find and try to trick them into accepting crappy stuff. That's my jam when I'm playing games. And I was really disappointed they didn't accept our rocks, but it was really fun when they asked for fresh meat and I offered one of themselves for them. So yeah,
that was awesome. That was a pretty badass for sure.
Yeah.
Diego, any questions for you?
Fun, yeah. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to have another issue of this, and I'm really want to see the city because I love city crawl and I love urban adventure. So I'm excited to see the city someday.
The weird thing about this is that the group that played the longest for 4.5 years has basically never gone up to the city. They've been able to, like, the whole time. Like after a year, they were able to go up. And they went up one time for like 3 sessions. We played maybe, I don't know, 120 sessions. They've never gone up. And so in a way, it was always just this reflection of everything else. Like I just was thinking about the city by way of thinking about like what's down here and what's in the jungle and what's the past. But then I started up like a second group to kind of more play test things. And they went up into the city right away. And so finally I've been forced, because you see, I only create like basically for play. And so I've been finally forced to reckon with it. And it's great fun. It's a little overwhelming, of course. Cities are hard. They're a real beast. But I'm excited. And I do actually have some of it. It's starting to come together now. Like, you know, I think they're going to be 5. It's going to be that eventually will be 5 zines for 5 neighborhoods, like that. Yeah. So yeah,
awesome.
All
right. Well, last but not least, as far as all the other players go, we've got Campbell, who's first time on stream. Campbell, so great to have you. Tell people who you are, where they can find you online. What's your thoughts and any questions you have for Benar?
Yeah. So hello, my name's Campbell. You can find me at primarily on YouTube at SJ Thunder Warrior, and occasionally on various non-D&D Facebook groups complaining about D&D sometimes. But there's Yeah, I really had a blast playing this. I've really avoided kind of like dungeon crawly games or and like for years, and then like all of a sudden I started during the pandemic. I started seeing people talking about OSR and OSE, and I was like, okay, this seems like people are getting the point that I missed way back in the day. So like this was such a blast playing. Ben, thank you. And this has given me a lot of ideas for the kinds of games that of how do I integrate this into my games as well. So I primarily play like Mage the Ascension, which is a very different setup, but I'm really seeing a lot of parallels with like the underworld and the different like
Realities.
that you're playing with this, which is a real fresh take from a lot of the other things that I've been exposed to before. So thank you for this. And I guess my one question that I was kind of having is so I've been out of gaming for a while, and then I started getting back into it a couple of years ago. Why the zine format? Like I love it. I think it's really awesome, but like I just wondering like how that kind of
yeah, I can explain.
Ben, what is a zine?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Don't answer that question on stream.
Yeah, I know. We've been having these quarrels and debates. Yeah. Right. So the zine format is the following reason. It's not I mean, I love zines and it was super fun to learn how to do it. I mean, for the first 2 issues, I made them all myself. I mean, I had them printed at a printer, but then I assembled them all myself. And I loved learning about doing all that stuff, learning about the materials, learning about the assembly. It's really fun and cool. But the truth is that I did it so that I could publish things in bite-sized bits because I'm not primarily a game designer. I mean, I have a pretty demanding job and a family and stuff. And so like the question like how to present, I wanted to present the material that I'd been kind of coming up with and like sharing a bit on my blog, but it's the attraction for me of the zine is the bite-sized bit. So it's like I can really invest myself in some unfinished piece of it that I make better for public consumption, but I can limit myself, you know? But the truth is I am now, I have to say, a little bit running up against the limits. That's why this is a double issue. And not only is it a double issue, but somebody else wrote an adventure to go with it. And now it's 3 zines. You'll notice, I mean, I think I'm already running up against the problem that a zine isn't enough space. And so, you know, but that's also the attraction. It's like I can only bite off so much. And so if I tell myself, well, just a bit more, then I can kind of move forward. But eventually I would like to compile it all in a single presentable form that is attractive so that it's not like about like somehow collecting the magazines or I'm not trying to do that to anybody. I'd love to just give everybody, you know, the thing all at once. It's just that I don't have that now. You know, I have to make that. And it's like, how do you do a big project? Well, here's one way. Figure out what pieces you can kind of pull out and do bit by bit. And so that's how I'm doing it. Yeah.
So for anybody unfamiliar, this is about the size of your average zine. And so if you're not familiar with the term, that's kind of what we're looking at. It's not a big thick tome.
Yeah. So like here, you know, here's a past issue. It's like a double folded regular size page. They're 36 zine pages, which means 4 sheets, 9 sheets, stapled together at the spine there. And these are unusual in that they have detachable covers aping old modules, but normally you would get a piece of cardstock cover that would also be stapled on, and you know, it's folded and trimmed with an image on the front. And so that's pretty much what a zine is. So it's like a little kind of bite-sized
I'll let you know.
thing.
You inspired us. I think for our Repugnant zine for Kickstarter, we're going to do a detachable cover. I think. Like, I'm a big fan of using the inside sides, but I love what you've done with the Through Ultan's Door, and it really did inspire me to be like, we've got a piece that would work way better as an 8.5 by 11 than it would as a half page, and if we can make it work, we're going to make it the inside cover and then do another cover on the interior. So. I think it's a really fun model to put the maps there and do what you've done with those. Campbell, did you have any other questions? Because I've got a question for you also, Campbell.
No, that was actually. I'll probably think of more as soon as we're done, and so I'll just bother you later.
Reach
Campbell,
out anytime. Let the conversation continue.
Yeah, you played the Opium Dreamer, right? Which was a unique class set up specifically for this. It's got basically you can set it up. This is system agnostic. You can play it with Dungeons and Dragons. You can play it with GURPS. You can play it with old school essentials, just like we did, because it's basically a flavor of the way that this person accesses the world. So tell me a little bit about, Campbell, just your experience of playing the Opium Dreamer, who's a magic user who accesses the Dreamland by use of psychedelics. So tell us a little bit about what that was like.
That was actually really fun because I didn't want to just be like, oh, I'm just some crazy guy on drugs, So I really thought about like, okay, if I was someone who used like altered states as like a magical practice, it would be someone who would do it in probably like a measured fashion, almost like a chaos magic kind of approach to it. And so then I started thinking like, okay, let's look at, Timothy Leary and the early like experiments with like the like military experiments with LSD and all that stuff. And I'm imagining, okay, so what would it be like for a person who was from that like really early, not like total hippie stage, but like that kind of like proto substances, and just how would that person, if they took that leap and be like, oh wow, I'm in an actual different place because of these experiments, how would they kind of interpret things? So that was really why I kind of like developed Saul as being someone not necessarily from like today's period, but from like the early 60s. And it was really fun because I got to like kind of research. Ben shared a really great write-up with us of like, okay, this is how this one sailor from like, it was from like the 1850s.
Yeah. Civil War vet or something.
Civil War vet, yeah.
Right.
What like was around in that time period. So I was like, okay, let me see what was going on during this other time period that I could, really kind of play around. And
I have to can I stop you for 1 second and just give credit? You know whose idea this was, and indeed whose chart that is. And I edited the write-up, but this is, who created this? Gus played in my game, the guy who draws the maps.
Oh,
and he's like, and this is Gus. Gus created the Opium Dreamer. So this is actually Gus's contribution to the play of my campaign. And I said, let's turn this into a modifiable class. He had Regimen Cruft, that guy, and the table he wrote up. I said, let's turn this into a whole way to run a PC, and let's open it up. And so I just wanted to give him credit because he's it was his idea.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take us out of full screen real quick because I do want people to get a sense of the layout on this. And like, I think a big part of it is like I have loved just reading through Ultan's Door. I every time you do this is just that house rules from Opium Dreamer. I'm just going to scroll through it real quick to give people kind of a sense. This is a different type of layout. It's not the exact same, but it'll give you a little bit of a sense of things. But also just the way that I think one of the things I love about Ultan's Door the most is actually is you, Ben. Like, it is hearing your language choice and usage in the text. It is, reading through things. It's a very different sense of the way this is written. And there's a much more narrative and lyrical quality to the way you write through Ultan's Door than I feel like there are for a lot of different settings. And it's one of my favorite things about the actual modules is kind of getting to see your fingerprints and some of this. That, and like you mentioned, you hand assembled the first two, right? And that sounds like, are you going to use a printing partner for these next ones?
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have them locally printed, but I'm going to pay them to assemble it.
Right.
Because I just can't.
Especially
with 3 zines, and if more people buy them, I just can't.
Yeah.
My whole life will become nothing but this, and like I can't do it. So yeah, I am going to pay to have someone assemble them.
But you ordered a pallet of a certain type of paper that you wanted.
Yeah, it's
for
all
this
the
also.
same. It's all they're made. It's all like super. It's super artisanal in the bad sense. I ordered from. It's French paper company is the best paper. It's so great. It's not that far from Chicago, and it's a family-run long business that makes this really amazing kind of boutique paper and all these different, really great colors and textures and weights. And so it's the same paper the other zines were printed on. I'm going to give that paper to the printer. It's going to be exactly, I don't think anyone's going to be able to tell any difference between this and the earlier issues. If anything, it'll probably look slightly better because I won't have, mangled every 10th one slightly by trimming it myself, but professionals will use real machines to precision cut it and stuff like that.
No,
yeah.
I love it. Like I said, I love the dedication, care. I think that type of look is so good. You unlike a lot of other people, use the full wide width of the paper instead of doing individual columns or different, weird block layouts. It's got a very distinctive look to it. The inserts you put in for the encounter pieces are all really sharp, really gorgeous elements. And it's been a phenomenal project. One that I haven't been able to get a print copy of. It's all been like pictures online and looking through PDFs and other stuff like that. I'm finally excited to get my hands on some Ultan's Door. So I'm super thankful for you coming out. We'll have our kind of full thoughts in a polished review, but I deeply enjoyed it.
Oh, well, thank you all. I'm honored that you did this with me. I mean, I've never streamed before. Diogo's really the only person here who I know at all, and we've never gamed together. And so, I think it was really great that you put yourselves out that way and that you came along and did this. I'm just delighted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's really, again, everything that we want to do here at Plus One EXP. And actually, everyone who appears on our streams, all of our regulars, they're all people who do other type of gaming stuff in some way, shape, or form. And who, when I just put out and said, hey, we're looking for a whole bunch of different people from all over the place to come play games, would you be interested in that? Said yes. So like Charmaine is in Australia, Diogo's down in Brazil, Kelsey is somewhere, right? Like
New York. Yeah.
So I mean, like we're all spread out, right? All over the place, but it is really great. We have players in Sweden, in the UK, all across the States. But it's really just great to see all kinds of different faces, hear people's different experiences. And some of people have only ever played D&D and are just getting into role-playing games, and other people are weirdos like me who I just want to play a new system, and maybe I'll play it again some more in the future, but maybe I never will again also too. So it's been really great to find a bunch of other, I think the most common way I refer to all these guys is just absolute sweeties to come on and play role-playing games with us. So speaking of which, if somebody out there is watching, if you're a designer who has your own games and you ever want to come on and play with us, you can. If you're ever interested in coming on and playing as a featured regular, please reach out to us. Let us know. I'd love to have that conversation with you. We are a community that believes in diversity and having different voices and individuals on the stream, and would love to include you in part of that if you're interested. So with that said, let's whip around once more and just let everybody know where they can find everything that you do just on the internet. My name's Tony Vicinda. You can find us at Plus One EXP or me at Tony Vicinda on the internet. Campbell, let's do you next.
Yeah, I'm SJ Thunder Warrior on YouTube, and I am deathly afraid of Twitter. So
If you want to hang out with Campbell, go to the I'm Begging You to Play a Different Role-Playing Game Facebook group. That's where he and I met. It's a great community.
Yes. find me there too.
Yeah.
That's where that's my hangout, and also on lefty Warhammer 40,000 groups.
There you go. Let's slide over to Diogo. Diogo, tell people where to find you online.
I'm Diogo Nogueira. You can find me at Twitter or Instagram at Diogo_oldskull, or on Facebook at Diogo Nogueira, that's it. Basically, yeah.
It's getting late in Brazil right now, so I appreciate you hanging.
Old Skull dash publishing.com too. You can email me, and I write games, do art, and this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Kelsey, where can people find you online?
Honestly, the easiest thing is to just look for an infinity of wishes, because we're all over everything for the most part. We also just got a TikTok, which is fun. I have not had a hand in it, but there's the other people I work with are doing some fun stuff. Should probably check it out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Charmaine, where can people find you online?
If you want to find my podcast, it's called the Hobbled Goblin Podcast. We've got Discord, we've got Facebook, all that stuff. If you want to find me, though, I'm Charzy on Instagram. I like dice and beer. But if you want to follow my Twitter, that's Charzy Mania.
And then, Ben, where can people find you at? Also, tell us one more time the details about the Kickstarter.
Sure. You can find me basically on 3 places. You can find me at Ben Laurence 1 at Twitter. That's Lawrence with a U. You can find me at ben.lawrence.7 on Instagram. And then you can find me at my blog, which is Miserian's Garden. The Kickstarter through Ultan's Door 3 is launching on Monday, February 2nd. It will run for 2 weeks because it's a Zine Quest Kickstarter. On that Kickstarter, you can get issues 1, issue 2, double issue 3, and the new module by Gus, all in Zine format. So you can, there's been some unfortunate scarcity in the past, not by my design, but just because of how things are. But now hopefully that will be over. This is your chance to get the print and PDF copies of the zine. Yeah, so I'm excited to start that on Monday.
How dare you be as popular as you've been? And so I am super excited to back it. We'll also post out about it on all our social media platforms. Again, we're a tabletop brand that specializes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Until next time, because I've just never figured out a better way to sign off, we're just going to wave at the screen until I end the stream.
Bye.